To millions of years ago, Earth looked nothing like it does today. Huge animals walked across the land, giant reptiles swam through the seas, and strange creatures filled the skies. These were the first giants of our planet, bigger, louder, and often far scarier than anything alive now. Some had armour, some had wings, and others carried teeth longer than your hand. Before we begin today's journey, let us know in the comments below where in the world you're watching from and what time it is there now. Now join us as we uncover the mysteries of the prehistoric creatures that once ruled the Earth. The story of life on Earth begins in the most ancient of times, billions of years ago, long before the emergence of any complex animals, plants, or even fungi. For the vast majority of the Earth's history, life was microscopic, unseen, and remarkably simple. Understanding these early life forms is fundamental to grasping the long evolutionary journey that led to the diverse biosphere we see today, including the prehistoric creatures that would eventually dominate the planet. Our planet itself formed approximately 4.54 billion years ago. For the first hundreds of millions of years, Earth was a hostile place, marked by intense volcanic activity, frequent asteroid impacts, and a very different atmosphere, rich in gases like methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide, but lacking significant free oxygen. It was in this primordial soup, or perhaps around hydrothermal vents in the deep ocean, that the very first stirrings of life are thought to have emerged. The exact mechanism by which non-living matter transitioned into living organisms, a process known as abiogenesis, remains one of science's great unsolved mysteries. However, experiments have shown that amino acids, the building blocks of proteins and nucleotides, the building blocks of DNA and RNA, can form spontaneously under early Earth conditions. The earliest undisputed evidence for life comes from fossilized microbial mats called stromatolites, found in ancient rocks dating back as far as 3.7 billion years. These layered structures are formed by colonies of photosynthetic bacteria, primarily cyanobacteria, formerly known as blue-green algae. These single-celled organisms were prokaryotes, meaning they lacked a true nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles within their cells. They were incredibly simple, yet profoundly transformative. For more than 2 billion years, prokaryotic life, including various types of bacteria and archaea, remained the sole inhabitants of Earth. These microscopic organisms adapted to an astonishing range of environments, from hot, acidic vents to cold, anoxic waters. A key innovation during this vast stretch of time was the evolution of photosynthesis, particularly oxygenic photosynthesis, performed by cyanobacteria. This process uses sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into energy and oxygen. Initially, the oxygen produced reacted with dissolved iron in the oceans, forming vast deposits of banded iron formations. But over time, as the iron became saturated, free oxygen began to accumulate in the atmosphere. This period, known as the Great Oxidation Event, was a major turning point, occurring roughly 2.4 billion years ago. The rise of atmospheric oxygen was both a revolution and a crisis. For many anaerobic organisms, those that thrive without oxygen, oxygen was a toxic poison. However, for others, it opened up new metabolic pathways, leading to more efficient energy production. This oxygenation of the atmosphere set the stage for the next major evolutionary leap, the emergence of eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are far more complex than prokaryotic cells. They possess a true nucleus, which houses their genetic material, and specialized compartments called organelles, such as mitochondria for energy production and chloroplasts for photosynthesis. The prevailing theory for the origin of eukaryotes is endosymbiosis, where one prokaryotic cell engulfed another, and they formed a symbiotic relationship. For example, mitochondria are thought to have originated from aerobic bacteria, engulfed by an ancestral archaean, and chloroplasts from cyanobacteria engulfed by an early eukaryotic cell. The earliest eukaryotic fossils date back to around 1.8 billion years ago, but their widespread diversification took much longer. For another billion years, known as the boring billion or the dullest billion, eukaryotes existed but remained mostly as single-celled organisms or simple, small multicellular forms like algae. The planet's climate was relatively stable, and nutrient availability might have been limited, hindering rapid evolution. However, around 1 billion to 800 million years ago, a series of profound environmental changes began. Earth experienced periods of extreme glaciation, known as snowball Earth events, where ice may have covered much of the planet. These harsh conditions, followed by periods of rapid warming, might have acted as powerful evolutionary pressures. It was in the final stretch of the Precambrian, during the Ediacaran period approximately 635 to 541 million years ago, that the first unambiguous evidence of multicellular organisms appears. These Ediacaran biota were soft-bodied, often disc-shaped, frond-like, or quilted forms, many of which had radial or quilted symmetry, unlike the bilateral symmetry common in most later animals. Examples include Dickinsonia, Sprigina, and Charnia. Their exact biological affinities are still debated. Some may represent early, failed experiments in multicellularity, while others might be ancestral to later animal groups. They were largely sessile, fixed in one place, or slow-moving, feeding by absorbing nutrients directly from the water or grazing on microbial mats. There is little evidence of predation or complex movement. The Ediacaran period represents a crucial transition as life moved from exclusively microscopic or simple colonial forms to larger, visible organisms. These creatures were the direct precursors to the dramatic explosion of complex animal life that would define the subsequent Cambrian period, fundamentally reshaping ocean ecosystems and setting the stage for the evolution of all complex life that followed. The Cambrian explosion, occurring approximately 541 to 519 million years ago, marks one of the most pivotal and dramatic periods in the history of life on Earth. Before this event, life was primarily microscopic or composed of simple, soft-bodied multicellular forms. Within a geologically brief span of about 20 million years, nearly all major animal phyla, basic body plans, that exist today, along with many extinct groups, suddenly appeared in the fossil record. This rapid diversification fundamentally transformed marine ecosystems from simple, microbial mats to complex interacting communities with intricate food webs. The term explosion refers to the sudden appearance of a wide array of new body plans and complex anatomical features. For example, during the Cambrian, we see the first clear evidence of animals with hard parts like shells, exoskeletons and teeth. This includes the first arthropods, mollusks, brachiopods, echinoderms, and early chordates, the group that includes vertebrates. The fossil record of the Cambrian, particularly from sites like the Burgess Shale in British Columbia, Canada, and the Chengjiang Biota in China, provides an astonishingly detailed snapshot of this evolutionary burst. These sites contain not only animals with hard parts, but also exceptionally preserved soft-bodied organisms, revealing the full breadth of Cambrian diversity. Several key innovations characterized the Cambrian explosion. One of the most significant was the evolution of bilateral symmetry, meaning an animal has a distinct front and back and a left and right side. This body plan allows for directed movement, facilitating active hunting and escape. Coupled with this was cephalization, the concentration of sensory organs and a brain at the anterior front end of the body, leading to the development of a distinct head. This allowed animals to better perceive their environment as they moved. The development of hard body parts was another major innovation. Shells, exoskeletons, and skeletal elements provided several advantages. They offered protection from newly evolving predators, provided points of attachment for muscles, enabling more powerful and controlled movement, and allowed for the fossilization of complex forms. Trilobites, with their segmented, armoured exoskeletons, are prime examples of early animals that benefited greatly from this innovation, becoming incredibly abundant and diverse throughout the Cambrian. The emergence of predation is considered a driving force behind the Cambrian explosion. Before the Cambrian, most organisms were thought to be grazers of microbial mats or filter feeders. The appearance of active predators, equipped with jaws, claws, and keen senses, created an evolutionary arms race. Prey animals responded by developing defensive mechanisms such as hard shells, spines, burrowing behaviours, and faster movement. This escalating interaction between predator and prey fueled rapid diversification as each side evolved new strategies. For example, Anomalocaris, the focus of the next chapter, was a formidable Cambrian predator, and its appearance likely spurred the evolution of protective armour in its prey. The environmental conditions of the Cambrian period also played a role. The end of the preceding Ediacaran period saw the breakup of the supercontinent Rodinia, leading to rising sea levels and the creation of vast, shallow marine environments. These shallow seas, bathed in sunlight and potentially rich in nutrients, provided abundant habitats for diverse new life forms. Increased oxygen levels in the oceans, a legacy of the Great Oxidation event, also supported more active and metabolically demanding lifestyles. However, the explosion is not without its debates. Some scientists argue that it might represent a fusion event, where distinct lineages previously living in separate microbial mats came together to form more complex animals. Others propose a deepening of the fossil record, suggesting that some simpler forms existed earlier but lacked hard parts, making them difficult to preserve. Nonetheless, the undeniable fact is that the Cambrian period witnessed a dramatic and unprecedented increase in anatomical complexity and ecological diversity. The creatures of the Cambrian seas were often bizarre and alien-looking compared to modern animals. In addition to Trilobites and Anomalocaris, the Burgess Shale reveals wonders like Hallucigenia, with its rows of spines and tentacles, and Opabinia, with its 5 eyes and a frontal grasping appendage. These peculiar forms highlight a period of evolutionary experimentation, where many different body plans were tried out, and only a fraction survived to diversify further. The Cambrian explosion fundamentally reset the trajectory of life on Earth. It established the basic blueprint for animal life that has persisted for over 500 million years. The complex ecosystems, with predators, prey, scavengers and filter feeders, all interacting within intricate food webs, emerged during this remarkable period. Without the Cambrian explosion, the evolution of all later complex life, including fish, amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, and ultimately mammals, would not have occurred. It was truly the dawn of animal life as we know it. Among the myriad of strange and wonderful creatures that emerged during the Cambrian explosion, few are as iconic and pivotal as Anomalocaris. This formidable animal, whose name means unlike other shrimp, was the undisputed apex predator of the Cambrian seas, a position of dominance it held at a time when most other life forms were still relatively small and sessile. The discovery and proper identification of Anomalocaris were crucial for understanding the dynamic and predatory nature of early complex ecosystems. The story of Anomalocaris' discovery is a tale of scientific puzzle solving. Its fossil remains were first found in the Burgess Shale, a famous fossil site in the Canadian Rockies that preserves soft-bodied Cambrian organisms with extraordinary detail. However, its various body parts were initially misidentified as separate creatures. The grasping appendages were thought to be shrimp. Its circular mouthparts were believed to be the fossilized remains of a jellyfish, and its large disc-shaped body was mistaken for an ancient type of sponge. It was only through painstaking re-examination of more complete specimens in the 1980s that paleontologists Harry Whittington and Derek Briggs pieced together these disparate parts, revealing a single, cohesive, and utterly unique animal. Anomalocaris was a large creature for its time, reaching lengths of up to 1 meter, a giant in a world mostly populated by centimeter-sized organisms. Its most striking features were a pair of large, segmented, grasping appendages located at the front of its head. These appendages were lined with sharp spines, perfectly designed for seizing and manipulating prey. It lacked true jaws, but possessed a unique circular mouthpart on its underside. This mouthpart was composed of several plates that could move radially, forming a powerful pineapple ring-like structure capable of crushing and grinding. Its body was segmented, flattened, and highly flexible, allowing for undulatory swimming motions. Along the sides of its body, Anomalocaris had a series of broad, flexible lobes that it likely rippled to propel itself through the water, similar to how cuttlefish swim today. It had a pair of very large compound eyes mounted on stalks, providing excellent vision. These eyes were remarkably sophisticated for their time, possessing thousands of individual lenses, granting Anomalocaris acute depth perception and the ability to detect motion quickly in its watery environment. Anomalocaris was a free-swimming, active hunter. Its large eyes and powerful swimming lobes indicate it was a visual predator, actively pursuing its prey rather than waiting in ambush. The grasping appendages were used to seize victims, while its circular mouth would then process the food. Evidence from fossilized trilobites with characteristic bite marks, as well as segments of trilobite exoskeletons found in Tyrannosaurus gut contents, known as coprolites, strongly suggests that trilobites were a major part of its diet. Its mouth parts were capable of crushing the hard shells of trilobites, a significant predatory adaptation. The presence of Anomalocaris as a top predator in the Cambrian seas had a profound impact on the evolution of other organisms. Its existence fueled the evolutionary arms race that was central to the Cambrian explosion. As Anomalocaris and other early predators developed more efficient hunting tools, their prey, such as trilobites and other armoured invertebrates, responded by evolving stronger shells, more spines, burrowing behaviours, and faster escape mechanisms. This constant pressure drove rapid diversification and increasing complexity in body plans across the ecosystem. The development of hard parts in prey animals, while useful for defence, also made them more likely to fossilise, contributing to the rich Cambrian fossil record. Anomalocaris belongs to a broader group called the Radiodonta, which includes other related Cambrian predators. While Anomalocaris itself eventually died out, its relatives continued to exist for some time. Its unique anatomy, a blend of features unlike any modern animal, places it at a key position in the tree of life, representing an early branch of the arthropod lineage or a closely related group. The discovery and accurate reconstruction of Anomalocaris fundamentally changed scientists' understanding of the Cambrian period. It revealed that these early oceans were not simply passive environments filled with slow-moving grazers. Instead, they were dynamic ecosystems, vibrant with active predation, intricate food webs, and fierce competition for survival. Anomalocaris was the king of this ancient alien world, a testament to the rapid and dramatic evolutionary experimentation that characterized the dawn of complex animal life. Trilobites were an incredibly diverse and successful group of marine arthropods that roamed Earth's ancient oceans for over 270 million years, from the early Cambrian period, beginning about 521 million years ago, until their final extinction at the end of the Permian period, around 252 million years ago. Their name, Trilobite, means three lobes, referring to their distinctive three-lobed body plan, a central axial lobe flanked by two pleural lobes. This longitudinal segmentation was consistent across all species, giving them their characteristic appearance. Their bodies were covered by a hard, mineralized exoskeleton made primarily of chitin, a tough carbohydrate reinforced with calcium carbonate. This exoskeleton provided protection against predators and supported their soft internal tissues. It was also segmented, divided into three main tagmata, or body sections, from head to tail. The first section was the cephalon, or head shield, which was typically semicircular or crescent-shaped. The cephalon bore a pair of prominent compound eyes, which could range from simple light-sensing patches to complex structures with thousands of individual lenses, providing wide fields of vision. Some trilobites even developed stalks for their eyes, allowing them to see over obstacles, while others were blind, likely living in deep water or burrowing in sediment. The cephalon also contained the mouth, antennae, and various appendages for feeding, though these are rarely preserved. Behind the cephalon was the thorax, the middle body section, which consisted of multiple articulating segments. The number of thoracic segments varied greatly among different species, ranging from as few as 2 to more than 30. These segments were flexible, allowing the trilobite to enroll its body, much like a modern pillbug or armadillo, into a protective ball. This enrollment behavior was a crucial defense mechanism against predators. The flexibility of the thorax also allowed for movement across the seafloor. The final section was the pygidium, or tail shield, a fused segment at the posterior end of the body. Like the cephalon, the pygidium's shape and ornamentation varied widely, from simple rounded plates to elaborately spined structures. The pygidium protected the rear of the animal and often played a role in pushing through sediment. Underneath their hard exoskeleton, trilobites possessed numerous pairs of jointed appendages, typically one pair per body segment. These limbs were biramous, meaning each limb had 2 branches, an inner walking leg and an outer feathery gill branch. This dual function allowed them to both move across the seafloor and breathe by extracting oxygen from the water. These delicate appendages are rarely preserved, making discoveries of full trilobite specimens with limbs exceptionally valuable. Trilobites occupied a wide range of ecological niches in ancient marine environments. Most were benthic, meaning they lived on or near the seafloor. Many were deposit feeders, sifting through mud and sand for organic particles, using their numerous legs to stir up sediment and move food towards their mouths. Others were suspension feeders, filtering small organisms or detritus from the water column. Evidence suggests some were scavengers, feeding on dead organic matter. While most were likely relatively slow-moving, some species with more streamlined bodies and larger eyes are thought to have been nectonic, meaning they actively swam in the water column, perhaps pursuing small prey or escaping predators. Their diverse eye structures support this, with different adaptations for light levels and visual acuity. Their enormous diversity is a hallmark of their success. Over 20,000 species have been described, grouped into approximately 10 orders. This vast array of forms reflects their ability to adapt to nearly every marine habitat. From shallow tropical reefs to deep water basins, they were found in all ancient oceans, from the warm, equatorial seas to the colder polar waters. Different species evolved specialized feeding strategies, defensive structures like spines or elaborate enrollment capabilities, and unique morphological features, making them a cornerstone of Paleozoic marine ecosystems. Trilobites underwent multiple periods of diversification and decline throughout their long history. They originated in the early Cambrian and quickly became one of the dominant animal groups in the Cambrian explosion of life. They survived several mass extinction events, though each event culled their numbers and reduced their diversity. For example, they were severely impacted by the Ordovician-Silurian extinction, which wiped out many species, but surviving lineages radiated again. However, their numbers steadily declined through the Carboniferous period. They finally met their end during the most catastrophic mass extinction event in Earth's history, the Permian-Triassic extinction, approximately 252 million years ago, which wiped out 96% of all marine species. The fossil record of trilobites is exceptionally rich, largely due to their robust mineralized exoskeletons, which preserved well in marine sediments. They're among the most recognizable and widely studied prehistoric invertebrates. Their abundance and widespread distribution make them excellent index fossils, meaning they are useful for dating rock layers and correlating geological formations across different regions of the world. By identifying specific trilobite species in a rock layer, paleontologists can determine its relative age. Their remarkable evolutionary story, from their humble beginnings to their millions of years of dominance and eventual demise, provides a crucial record of ancient marine life and the dynamic history of Earth. During the Ordovician period, which spanned from about 485 million to 444 million years ago, the oceans were teeming with life, and among the most formidable predators were the giant nautiloids. These were ancient relatives of modern squid, octopuses, and the living nautilus, but many species grew to truly colossal sizes, making them the dominant marine predators of their time. Unlike the modern nautilus, which has a coiled shell, many of these Ordovician giants possessed long, straight, cone-shaped shells, earning them the descriptive name straight-shelled nautiloids. The most iconic example of these behemoths is Ediacaran. Fossil evidence suggests that Ediacaran could reach lengths of up to 9 meters, although precise estimates are challenging due to incomplete remains. Imagine a predatory marine animal, the length of a small school bus, gliding through the Ordovician seas. Its massive conical shell would have been the most prominent feature, serving as both protection and a buoyancy device. The shell was divided internally into numerous gas-filled chambers, called camerae, separated by thin walls called septa. A tube-like structure, the siphuncle, ran through these chambers. The siphuncle played a crucial role in controlling buoyancy. By carefully adjusting the amount of gas and fluid within these chambers, the nautiloid could rise or sink in the water column, allowing for precise depth control. This remarkable hydrostatic system was a key adaptation for these large shelled predators. The soft body of Endosauros and other giant nautiloids resided in the outermost largest chamber of the shell, called the body chamber. This chamber contained the head, with its powerful tentacles, mouth, and eyes. While the soft parts are rarely preserved, inferences about their anatomy are made by comparing them to modern cephalopods, and the more complete fossil record of ammonoids and other nautiloids, their mouths were equipped with a hard, beak-like structure, a radula, similar to that of modern cephalopods, capable of crushing the shells of prey. They likely had numerous strong tentacles surrounding the mouth, which they would have used to grasp and subdue their victims. As apex predators, giant nautiloids hunted a variety of prey in the Ordovician oceans. Their diet likely included trilobites, smaller nautiloids, early fish, which were still largely jawless and relatively small during this period, and other invertebrates. Their strategy would have involved using their excellent maneuverability, controlled by their sipuncle, to ambush prey or pursue it in open water. Propulsion was achieved through jet propulsion. Water would be drawn into a muscular mantle cavity and then expelled forcefully through a funnel-like siphon, pushing the animal backward. While perhaps not as fast as modern squid, this method allowed for efficient movement for an animal of their size. The immense size of Endoceras and its relatives made them formidable creatures in their ecosystem. Their sheer bulk and hard shells provided protection against other emerging predators, although their relatively slow movement might have made them vulnerable to more agile hunters. The Ordovician oceans were teeming with life, including diverse forms of brachiopods, crinoids, graptolites, and early corals, forming complex food webs in which these giant nautiloids were at the very top. The success of these giant straight-shelled nautiloids can be seen in their widespread fossil distribution. Their shells, being mineralized and robust, preserved exceptionally well in the sedimentary rocks of the Ordovician period. Fossils of Ediacaran and similar large nautiloids have been found in North America, Europe, and Asia, indicating their global dominance in the oceans of that era. Their presence in the fossil record is crucial for understanding the marine ecology of the Ordovician. However, the reign of the giant straight-shelled nautiloids began to wane towards the end of the Ordovician period. The Ordovician Silurian extinction event, one of the largest mass extinctions in Earth's history, had a significant impact on marine life. While the nautiloids as a group survived, many of the colossal straight-shelled forms, including Endoceras, disappeared or saw their diversity greatly reduced. This event paved the way for other groups, such as jawed fish, to diversify and eventually fill new predatory niches in subsequent periods. Despite their eventual decline, the giant nautiloids stand as a powerful testament to the early evolution of a large-scale predation in Earth's oceans. Their innovative buoyancy control system, formidable size and predatory prowess made them the undisputed rulers of the Ordovician seas, a period when life was largely confined to the aquatic realm and land had yet to see its first complex ecosystems. Their legacy continues in the coiled-shelled nautilus of today, a living fossil that echoes the ancient, awe-inspiring giants of a long-lost ocean. Sea scorpions, scientifically known as eurypterids, were a fascinating and diverse group of extinct arthropods that dominated aquatic environments for tens of millions of years, primarily during the Paleozoic era. Their name refers to their scorpion-like appearance, though they were not true scorpions and were more closely related to horseshoe crabs and arachnids. These creatures ranged from small, few-centimetre-long forms to colossal giants, making them some of the largest arthropods to have ever lived. Eurypterids first appeared in the Ordovician period, about 470 million years ago, but reached their peak diversity and size during the Silurian period, from approximately 443 million to 419 million years ago. They eventually died out in the Permian-Triassic extinction event, around 252 million years ago, after a long and successful reign. Their bodies, like those of their trilobite cousins, were covered by a segmented exoskeleton. This exoskeleton was divided into three main parts: the prosoma, head and fused segments, the opisthosoma, abdomen, and a telson, tail. The prosoma typically bore a pair of compound eyes, as well as several pairs of appendages. These appendages were highly specialized depending on the eurypterid species and its lifestyle. The first pair of appendages were often chelicerae, small pincers used for manipulating food. Subsequent pairs could be walking legs, adapted for moving across the seafloor, or powerful swimming paddles, particularly in more active pelagic species. The most distinctive feature of many eurypterids was their large, flattened paddles on their posterior limbs, which they used for powerful propulsion through water. These paddles often ended in a sharp point or spine in some species, indicating a dual purpose in swimming and possibly defense or attacking prey. The opisthozomer, or abdomen, was segmented and articulated, allowing for flexibility. The telson, or tail, varied greatly in shape. Some species had a pointed scorpion-like stinger, giving them their common name, while others had a flattened paddle-like telson, further aiding in swimming. Eurypterids occupied a wide range of habitats and ecological niches. Early forms were strictly marine, inhabiting shallow coastal waters, lagoons and estuaries. However, a significant evolutionary trend within the group was their progressive adaptation to freshwater environments. By the Devonian period, many Eurypterid species were found exclusively in rivers and lakes, making them some of the earliest large aquatic predators in freshwater ecosystems. This transition required adaptations to osmoregulation, balancing salt and water in their bodies, and different respiratory methods. As predators, Eurypterids were formidable. Their diet likely included smaller arthropods, early fish, and other invertebrates. Many species possessed powerful claws, or chelae, on their front limbs, which they would have used to grasp and tear apart prey. Their segmented bodies and powerful tails would have allowed for swift movement, either scuttling along the bottom or swimming with bursts of speed. The most famous and awe-inspiring of the Eurypterids was Gecalopterus rhenaniae, a colossal species from the early Devonian period, approximately 400 million years ago. Gecalopterus is considered the largest known arthropod to have ever lived, with estimates suggesting it could reach lengths of up to 2.5 meters, or about 8 feet. Its fossil remains, including a large pincer found in Germany, indicate an animal of truly immense scale. This giant sea scorpion would have been an apex predator in the freshwater and brackish water environments it inhabited, capable of ambushing and overpowering large fish and other invertebrates. Its sheer size would have made it a terrifying presence in the Devonian waterways. Other notable Eurypterids include Pterygotus, another large genus that lived during the Silurian and Devonian, known for its strong claw-like chelicerae. Slemonia was a more streamlined form, well adapted for swimming. The diversity in their forms reflects their successful exploitation of various aquatic niches. The fossil record of Eurypterids is extensive, with well-preserved specimens found in numerous locations around the world, including New York State in the United States, Scotland, and Germany. These fossils provide detailed insights into their external anatomy, growth stages as they molted their exoskeletons, and even their gut contents in rare cases, offering direct evidence of their diets. Despite their long reign and impressive adaptations, Eurypterids eventually declined in diversity after the Devonian period. They were severely impacted by the late Devonian extinction events, and their numbers continued to dwindle through the Carboniferous and Permian. They finally disappeared entirely in the Permian-Triassic extinction event, the Great Dying, which marked the end of the Paleozoic era. The sea scorpions represent a remarkable chapter in the history of life, showcasing the incredible evolutionary pathways taken by arthropods to conquer diverse aquatic environments and become some of the most fearsome predators of their time. The Devonian period, spanning from approximately 419 million to 359 million years ago, is often referred to as the Age of Fish, due to the remarkable diversification of aquatic vertebrates during this time. Among the most prominent and formidable of these early fish were the placoderms, a diverse class of armoured fish that dominated marine and freshwater environments. Their most defining characteristic was their heavy bony armour, especially around the head and front part of the body, which provided both protection and structural support for their powerful jaws. Placoderms represented a significant evolutionary leap in vertebrate history because they were among the earliest known jawed vertebrates. Before the placoderms, most fish were jawless, relying on filter feeding or suction. The evolution of jaws, which allowed for biting and chewing, revolutionized feeding strategies, opening up new predatory niches. Placoderm jaws were unique. Unlike modern bony fish or sharks that have teeth attached to their jaws, placoderms often had sharp, bony plates or self-sharpening projections on their jawbones that functioned as teeth. These gnathal plates were extremely effective for grasping, shearing, or crushing prey. The armour of placoderms varied in extent and thickness, but typically consisted of two main sections: a cephalic shield covering the head and a thoracic shield protecting the trunk. These two shields were connected by an articulating joint, allowing the head to move relative to the body. This joint was a key innovation, providing both flexibility for feeding and defense. The rest of the body, especially the tail, was often unarmored or covered in smaller scales, allowing for greater flexibility and propulsion. The armor itself was made of dermal bone, a type of bone that forms in the skin, similar to the plates of modern crocodiles. Placoderms occupied a wide range of ecological roles. Many were bottom dwellers, feeding on invertebrates or detritus. Others were active swimmers and formidable predators. Their success can be attributed to their bony armor, which protected them from attack by other placoderms or early sharks, and their newly evolved jaws, which allowed them to exploit a broader range of food sources than their jawless ancestors. They were found in diverse aquatic environments, from shallow coastal waters to deeper marine habitats, and even freshwater rivers and lakes. Among the placoderms, the order Arthrodira contained some of the largest and most terrifying predators of the Devonian. These were typically large, heavily armoured fish with powerful scissor-like jaws. Ankylosaurus, an Arthrodire placoderm, stands out as one of the most iconic and impressive creatures of the Devonian seas. This colossal armoured fish was an apex predator, meaning it was at the very top of the food chain in its ecosystem. Ankylosaurus reached truly enormous sizes, with estimates suggesting lengths of up to 10 metres, approximately 33 feet, and weights of several tons. Its most striking feature was its massive toothless jaws, which were instead equipped with self-sharpening bony blades. These blades formed a powerful shearing mechanism capable of delivering an incredibly strong bite. Paleontological studies estimate Ankylosaurus's bite force to be one of the most powerful among all fish, even comparable to that of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. This immense bite force would have allowed it to crush the armour of other placoderms, including smaller Ankylosaurus, as well as hard-shelled invertebrates like ammonites and early fish. The head and thoracic armour of Ankylosaurus were particularly robust, forming a thick, bony helmet. The distinctive articulation between its head shield and body shield allowed it to rapidly open and close its mouth, creating a powerful suction force that would have pulled prey into its jaws. This combination of speed, biting power, and predatory efficiency made Ankylosaurus a terrifying hunter in the Devonian oceans. Fossil evidence, particularly from the Cleveland Shale in North America, has provided well-preserved head shields and jaw structures, allowing scientists to reconstruct its appearance and understand its feeding mechanics. Despite their success and dominance during the Devonian, placoderms mysteriously disappeared at the end of the period, during the late Devonian extinction event, which occurred around 359 million years ago. While not as devastating as the Permian-Triassic extinction, the late Devonian event severely impacted marine life, particularly in shallow tropical waters. The exact reasons for the extinction of placoderms are still debated, but environmental changes such as widespread ocean anoxia, lack of oxygen, sea level fluctuations, and potentially competition from the diversifying cartilaginous and bony fish are thought to have played a role. Their sudden disappearance left ecological niches open, which were then filled by the more advanced ray-finned fish and sharks, lineages that would go on to dominate aquatic environments for the next hundreds of millions of years. The placoderms, however, left behind an incredible fossil record, standing as a testament to an early evolutionary experiment in jawed, armoured predatory fish. Sharks, those highly successful and often feared predators of modern oceans, have an incredibly ancient lineage, predating even the dinosaurs. Their story begins in the Devonian period, often called the Age of Fish, approximately 400 million years ago. These early sharks were quite different from their modern counterparts, yet they possessed many of the fundamental characteristics that have allowed sharks to thrive for hundreds of millions of years. The defining feature of sharks, and what often makes their fossil record somewhat sparse compared to bony fish, is their cartilaginous skeleton. Unlike bony fish, sharks have skeletons made primarily of cartilage, a flexible and lighter tissue than bone. While cartilage is strong, it rarely fossilizes as well as bone. Therefore, much of our knowledge of early sharks comes from their teeth, which are highly durable and readily preserved, and sometimes from calcified cartilage or scales. Despite this challenge, paleontologists have pieced together a remarkable picture of early shark evolution. The very first true sharks emerged in the early Devonian, alongside the placoderms and bony fish. One of the best-known early shark forms is Cladoceles, which lived in the late Devonian, roughly 370 million years ago. Cladoceles was a relatively small shark, reaching lengths of about 1 to 2 meters, 3 to 6 feet, making it much smaller than today's great white shark. Its body was streamlined and torpedo-shaped, clearly adapted for fast swimming in open water. Several features of Cladoceles represent the fundamental blueprint for later shark evolution. It possessed paired fins, including pectoral and pelvic fins, which provided stability and control. Its caudal fin, or tail fin, was powerfully developed and largely symmetrical, resembling the tail of modern tuna, suggesting it was a fast, active swimmer. Unlike modern sharks, Cladoceles had a terminal mouth, meaning its mouth was at the very front of its head, rather than positioned underneath, a subterminal mouth. Its teeth were simple, sharp, and conical, suitable for grasping and piercing slippery prey like fish. It also lacked claspers, specialized organs found in male sharks for internal fertilization, suggesting its reproductive methods might have been different from modern sharks, or that claspers had not yet fully evolved in this lineage. Early sharks like Cladoceles also had some primitive characteristics. Their gill slits were exposed, not covered by an operculum, gill cover, as in bony fish. They also lacked scales over much of their body, instead having small tooth-like denticles, placoid scales, that covered their skin, giving it a sandpaper-like texture. These denticles are essentially miniature teeth, homologous to the larger teeth in their mouths. The Carboniferous period following the Devonian saw a significant diversification of sharks, often called the Golden Age of Sharks. During this time, sharks adapted to a wider range of marine and freshwater environments, and many bizarre and specialized forms appeared. One such example is Stegosaurus, a genus of shark from the Carboniferous, approximately 360 million to 300 million years ago. Stegosaurus was characterized by a unique and perplexing dorsal fin structure in males, a large anvil-shaped or brush-like appendage on its back, often covered in denticles, and a similar patch of denticles on its head. The precise function of this fin brush complex is debated, but theories suggest it might have been used for mating display, species recognition, or even as an anchor during copulation. Stegosaurus was a relatively small shark, typically less than 1 meter, 3 feet long, and likely preyed on smaller fish. Another fascinating early shark relative was Helicoprion, famous for its unique tooth whorl. Living from the Permian into the early Triassic, approximately 290 million to 250 million years ago, Helicoprion reached lengths of up to 7 meters, 23 feet. Instead of shedding teeth like modern sharks, Helicoprion's old teeth were continuously pushed forward into a spiraling whorl in its lower jaw. This bizarre structure has been the subject of much scientific debate, with early reconstructions placing the whorl in various improbable positions. Recent CT scans and fossil discoveries suggest the tooth whorl was indeed located in the lower jaw, operating like a buzzsaw to slice and tear through soft-bodied prey, possibly ammonoids or fish. Helicoprion was a unique evolutionary experiment, demonstrating the incredible diversity among early cartilaginous fish. Despite facing extinction events like the late Devonian and Permian Triassic events, sharks proved remarkably resilient. Their cartilaginous skeletons provided flexibility and lightness, their continuous tooth replacement ensured a constant supply of sharp dentition, and their sophisticated sensory systems, including the lateral line and ampullae of Lorenzini for detecting electrical fields, allowed them to thrive as predators. The early sharks laid the foundation for the diverse and successful group we see today, a lineage that has outlasted many other dominant marine groups, including the placoderms and the giant marine reptiles. Their endurance is a testament to the effectiveness of their fundamental body plan and adaptations established hundreds of millions of years ago. The Permian period, spanning from approximately 299 million to 252 million years ago, was a time of significant diversification for land vertebrates. Among the most distinctive and widely recognized creatures of this era were a group of early reptiles known as synapsids, often colloquially referred to as mammal-like reptiles. While they were not true reptiles in the modern sense, they are on the lineage that leads to mammals, not birds or crocodiles, they were the dominant terrestrial vertebrates of their time. Many of these synapsids, particularly the plesiosaurs, were characterized by a prominent dorsal sail on their backs, a feature that has fascinated paleontologists for decades. The most famous example of a sail-backed synapsid is Dimetrodon. Although often mistaken for a dinosaur due to its reptilian appearance and predatory nature, Dimetrodon lived tens of millions of years before the first dinosaurs appeared. It was a top predator of the early Permian, ranging in size from less than a metre, 3 feet, to over 4.5 metres, 15 feet in length. Its most striking feature was the tall, fan-like sail extending from its back, supported by elongated neural spines, which were bony projections from its vertebrae. The sail of Dimetrodon was likely covered in skin and blood vessels. Its exact function has been debated, but the most widely accepted hypothesis is thermoregulation. In the early Permian, the climate was relatively warm, but diurnal, daily temperature fluctuations could have been significant. A large surface area with a rich blood supply like the sail could have acted as a radiator. By orienting its sail towards or away from the sun, Dimetrodon could have rapidly warmed its body in the morning, allowing it to become active earlier than other cold-blooded creatures, or cool down when temperatures became too high. This thermal inertia would have given it an advantage in hunting or escaping predators. Other proposed functions for the sail include display for mating or territorial disputes, making the animal appear larger and more intimidating. The sail might also have played a role in species recognition, as different plesiosaur species had sails of varying shapes and sizes. Dimetrodon itself was a formidable predator. Its skull was deep and narrow, equipped with 2 different types of teeth, a characteristic that gives it its name, two-measure tooth. It had large, sharp teeth at the front of its jaws for piercing, and smaller, serrated teeth further back for slicing. This heterodonty, having different tooth shapes, is a primitive mammalian trait, hinting at its place in the lineage leading to mammals. Dimetrodon was a quadrupedal animal, walking on 4 splayed legs, typical of early reptiles. Its powerful limbs and sharp teeth made it an efficient hunter of other Permian amphibians and reptiles. Another sail-backed plesiosaur was Edaphosaurus, which lived alongside Dimetrodon in the early Permian. Unlike Dimetrodon, Edaphosaurus was a herbivore. Its sail was also supported by long neural spines, but these spines had numerous small bony crossbars or projections, giving the sail a rougher, knobbed appearance. This anatomical difference suggests that while both might have used their sails for thermoregulation, the distinct appearance of Edaphosaurus's sail might have been part of its display or species identification. Edaphosaurus had a small head and blunt peg-like teeth, which were suitable for grinding plant material. Its presence in the same ecosystems as Dimetrodon highlights the ecological diversity among these sail-backed synapsids. The plesiosaurs, including Dimetrodon and Edaphosaurus, were widespread across the supercontinent Pangaea. Their fossils are found in various regions, particularly abundant in North America and Europe. They were dominant for millions of years, representing a key stage in the evolution of land vertebrates. However, towards the end of the Permian, the plesiosaurs were largely replaced by a more advanced group of synapsids called therapsids. While some early therapsids also had sails, like Spinosaurus, the trend shifted towards more compact mammal-like body plans without large dorsal structures. Therapsids developed more upright postures, more efficient jaws, and potentially warm-bloodedness, which gave them an evolutionary edge. The decline of the plesiosaurs was a natural part of evolutionary succession, culminating in the Permian-Triassic extinction event, approximately 252 million years ago. This catastrophic event, the Great Dying, wiped out most of life on Earth, including almost all remaining synapsids, though a few therapsid lineages survived to give rise to the first mammals in the Triassic. The sail-backed reptiles like Dimetrodon stand as fascinating examples of early vertebrate evolution. They demonstrate how large, striking anatomical features can evolve to serve vital physiological functions like thermoregulation, and also play roles in social display. Their position as a dominant group before the age of dinosaurs underscores the rich and varied history of life on land, long before the more familiar giant reptiles came to rule the Earth. The transition of life from water to land was one of the most pivotal moments in Earth's history, fundamentally reshaping ecosystems and opening vast new evolutionary possibilities. This remarkable journey, which began in the Devonian period, approximately 370 million years ago, saw the evolution of the first amphibians from their fish ancestors. These pioneering vertebrates, often called tetrapods, meaning four-footed, developed a suite of adaptations that allowed them to venture out of the aquatic realm, even if their lives remained closely tied to water. The direct ancestors of amphibians were lobe-finned fish. Unlike ray-finned fish, whose fins are supported by flexible rays, lobe-finned fish possess fleshy, muscular fins supported by a central array of bones, homologous to the limb bones of land vertebrates. These robust, bony fins allowed them to walk or prop themselves up on the bottom of shallow, oxygen-poor swamps and lagoons. Key examples of these transitional fish include Eusthenopteron and Panderichthys. Their fins contained skeletal elements that would eventually evolve into the humerus, radius, ulna, femur, tibia, and fibula of tetrapod limbs. One of the most crucial adaptations for life on land was the evolution of lungs. While many fish use gills to extract oxygen from water, gills are inefficient on land as they collapse without water support. Some lobe-finned fish possess simple lungs, which they use to gulp air from the surface of oxygen-depleted water, a common feature in stagnant swamps. This pre-adaptation for air breathing was essential for surviving out of water. As tetrapods evolved, their lungs became more developed and efficient, allowing them to rely primarily on atmospheric oxygen. The earliest true amphibians, or stem tetrapods, exhibited a fascinating mix of fish-like and tetrapod-like features. Ichthyostega, discovered in Greenland and living about 365 million years ago, is one of the most well-known and extensively studied examples of these early pioneers. Ichthyostega possessed 4 robust limbs with distinct digits, indicating its ability to move on land. Its limbs were stocky and paddle-like, suggesting that while it could support its weight, it likely moved in a cumbersome, sprawling manner, perhaps dragging its body across muddy banks rather than walking upright. It had 7 digits on each hind limb, a greater number than the 5 found in most later tetrapods, indicating an early, experimental phase of limb evolution. Despite its limbs, Ichthyostega retained many fish-like characteristics. It possessed a powerful fish-like tail with fin rays, suggesting it was still an excellent swimmer. It also had a lateral line system, a sensory organ in fish used to detect vibrations in water, indicating that water was still a crucial part of its environment. Its skull was long and relatively flat, similar to that of its fish ancestors, and its teeth were labyrinthodont, meaning they had complex folded enamel, a trait shared with early fish and later amphibians. These features suggest that Ichthyostega spent a significant amount of time in water, likely hunting fish and other aquatic prey, but was also capable of hauling itself onto land. Another significant early tetrapod was Acanthostega, which lived slightly earlier than Ichthyostega, around 370 million years ago. Acanthostega also possessed 8 digits on each forelimb, highlighting the early experimentation with digit number. Crucially, studies of Acanthostega's limb structure suggest that its limbs were primarily adapted for propulsion in shallow water, perhaps in vegetated swamps, rather than for walking on land. Its ribs were too short to support its body weight against gravity, indicating it would have collapsed on land. This suggests that the evolution of limbs with digits may have first occurred as an adaptation for maneuvering in water, or for crawling across very shallow muddy bottoms before fully functional terrestrial locomotion evolved. The selective pressures driving this water-to-land transition are debated. One theory suggests that as Devonian swamps became oxygen-depleted, air breathing and the ability to move between pools of water became advantageous for survival. Another idea proposes that venturing onto land offered access to new food sources, such as insects and other invertebrates that had already colonized terrestrial environments. Escaping aquatic predators might have also been a driving factor. The skin of early amphibians remained thin and permeable, a feature that kept them tied to moist environments. Unlike later reptiles, amphibians could not fully prevent water loss through their skin, making dry land a deadly environment. This dependence on moisture also extended to reproduction. Early amphibians, like their modern descendants, laid eggs without shells, which had to be laid in water to prevent desiccation. Their larvae, or tadpoles, typically lived entirely in water, breathing with gills, before undergoing metamorphosis into adult forms. This amphibious lifestyle, involving both aquatic and terrestrial phases, defines the group even today. The transition from fish to tetrapods involved a complex mosaic of evolutionary changes occurring over millions of years. It wasn't a sudden leap from water to land, but a gradual process involving incremental adaptations that allowed life to exploit new opportunities in the terrestrial realm. The development of robust limbs with digits, efficient lungs, and changes in skull structure for feeding on land were critical milestones. These early amphibians, while still constrained by their need for water, were the pioneers who laid the foundation for all subsequent terrestrial vertebrate life, including reptiles, birds, and mammals. During the Carboniferous period, approximately 359 to 299 million years ago, Earth's atmosphere and ecosystem supported some of the largest arthropods that have ever lived. Among these prehistoric giants were enormous insects, far exceeding the size of their modern counterparts. This era, often called the Coal Age, due to the vast coal deposits formed from its dense forests, provided unique conditions that allowed these invertebrates to grow to astonishing dimensions. The primary factor enabling the gigantism of Carboniferous insects was the high concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere. During this period, atmospheric oxygen levels are estimated to have reached 30% to 35%, significantly higher than the 21% we experience today. Insects do not breathe with lungs like vertebrates. Instead, they rely on a system of tubes called tracheae that deliver oxygen directly to their tissues. This tracheal system is less efficient for oxygen delivery over long distances. In lower oxygen environments, larger body sizes would make it difficult for oxygen to reach all parts of a large insect's body. However, in an oxygen-rich atmosphere, the tracheal system could more effectively supply oxygen to larger bodies, removing a major physiological constraint on size. The vast, swampy forests of the Carboniferous also contributed to this high oxygen by rapidly burying huge amounts of plant matter, preventing its decomposition and the associated oxygen consumption. One of the most famous examples of a giant Carboniferous insect is Meganeura. This ancient relative of modern dragonflies and damselflies lived around 305 million years ago and boasted an incredible wingspan of up to 75 centimeters, or about 2.5 feet. This makes it the largest known flying insect in Earth's history. Meganeura was a formidable predator, likely feeding on other large insects and perhaps even early amphibians. Its large compound eyes would have given it excellent vision for hunting in the dense Carboniferous forests, and its powerful veined wings allowed for agile flight. The fossil record of Meganeura provides direct evidence of the immense size that flying insects could achieve under optimal atmospheric conditions. Another awe-inspiring arthropod from this period was Arthropleura. While not strictly an insect, it was a millipede-like creature belonging to the myriapods. It highlights the overall gigantism of arthropods during the Carboniferous. Arthropleura could reach lengths of up to 2.6 meters, or about 8.5 feet, making it the largest known terrestrial invertebrate of all time. It had a segmented body covered by a hard exoskeleton, and its multiple legs allowed it to move through the dense undergrowth of the Carboniferous forests. Despite its fearsome size, Arthropleura is believed to have been a herbivore, feeding on decaying plant matter and possibly spores, playing a role in breaking down organic material in its ecosystem. Its sheer bulk is another testament to the permissive conditions of the Carboniferous. Other examples of large insects include giant cockroaches and protodonatans, relatives of dragonflies. The forests themselves, composed of primitive trees like lycopods, scale trees, horsetails, and ferns, formed vast, humid swamps. This lush vegetation provided abundant food sources and shelter for these colossal invertebrates. The lack of large, highly efficient vertebrate predators on land during the early Carboniferous might also have contributed to the survival of these large insects, though early amphibians and reptiles would have presented some threat. The end of the Carboniferous and the beginning of the Permian period saw a decline in atmospheric oxygen levels, which coincided with the eventual disappearance of these extreme giant insects. As oxygen levels dropped, the physiological constraint on the tracheal system would have become more significant, favouring smaller body sizes. Additionally, the increasing diversification and specialisation of terrestrial vertebrates, particularly reptiles, provided new and more efficient predators that could have outcompeted or preyed upon these large invertebrates. The drying of many of the Carboniferous swamps as continents moved and climates changed also impacted the specific habitats these creatures relied upon. The study of giant insects from the Carboniferous period provides crucial insights into the interplay between atmospheric composition, climate, and the evolution of body size in invertebrates. It demonstrates that the physical and chemical conditions of Earth's ancient past allowed for biological forms that seem extraordinary by modern standards. These colossal insects, like Meganeura and Arthropleura, were not just curiosities. They were dominant components of the Carboniferous ecosystems, representing a unique chapter in the history of life on Earth. The Triassic period, spanning from approximately 252 million to 201 million years ago, marks the dawn of the dinosaur age. Following the devastating Permian-Triassic extinction event, which wiped out nearly all life on Earth, the Triassic was a time of recovery and diversification. While dinosaurs would eventually dominate the planet, their earliest forms were surprisingly small and unassuming, coexisting with a diverse array of other reptiles that initially held ecological supremacy. The Earth's geography during the Triassic was dominated by the supercontinent Pangaea. This single, massive landmass led to a largely arid and seasonal climate, particularly in the vast continental interior. The plant life consisted mainly of conifers, cycads, ginkgos, and ferns, as flowering plants had not yet evolved. This environment provided the backdrop for the slow recovery of life and the eventual emergence of dinosaurs. The very first dinosaurs appeared in the Middle Triassic, around 245 million years ago, primarily in what is now South America. These pioneers were strikingly different from the colossal giants of later periods. They were generally small to medium-sized, typically no larger than a human, and were primarily bipedal predators. Their key distinguishing features, which set them apart from other reptiles, included an upright posture with limbs positioned directly beneath the body, rather than sprawling out to the sides like lizards, a unique ankle structure, and a perforated hip socket. These adaptations allowed for more efficient and sustained locomotion, giving them a subtle but significant advantage over their sprawling competitors. One of the earliest and best understood dinosaurs is Eoraptor, discovered in Argentina. Living about 230 million years ago, Eoraptor was a small, agile creature, only about 1 meter, 3 feet long. It walked on 2 legs and likely ate small animals, though its teeth showed some variation, suggesting it might have been an omnivore. Its primitive features place it very close to the common ancestor of all dinosaurs, making it a crucial fossil for understanding dinosaur evolution. Another early Triassic dinosaur from South America is Herrerasaurus. Considerably larger than Eoraptor, Herrerasaurus could reach lengths of up to 6 meters, 20 feet, and was a powerful bipedal predator. Its strong jaws and sharp teeth indicate it was a carnivore, preying on other reptiles. Herrerasaurus represents an early branch of the theropod lineage, the group that would eventually include Tyrannosaurus Rex. Its discovery helped demonstrate that even early dinosaurs could achieve significant size relative to their non-dinosaur contemporaries. Beyond these early theropod-like forms, the Triassic also saw the emergence of the first prosauropods, the ancestors of the giant long-necked sauropods. Plesiosaurus, from the late Triassic of Europe, is a prime example. Plesiosaurus was a relatively large dinosaur for its time, growing up to 10 meters, 33 feet, long. While it typically walked on 4 legs, it could rear up on its hind limbs to browse on higher vegetation. Its peg-like teeth were adapted for an herbivorous diet. Plesiosaurus represents a critical evolutionary step, showing the early development of herbivory and large size within the dinosaur lineage. For much of the Triassic, dinosaurs were not the dominant land animals. They coexisted with, and were often overshadowed by, other groups of reptiles. Pseudosutians, a diverse group of archosaurs more closely related to modern crocodiles than to dinosaurs, were the ruling predators. Examples include Postosuchus, a large formidable bipedal predator that often outweighed the early dinosaurs. Other prominent reptiles included rhynchosaurs, specialized herbivores with peculiar beaks, and icthyosaurs, heavily armored pig-like plant eaters. Even large, sprawling amphibians still occupied various ecological niches. Dinosaurs were just one component of a rich and varied reptile fauna. The climate of the Triassic, characterized by strong seasonality and widespread aridity, likely influenced the distribution and adaptation of these early dinosaurs. Their upright posture might have been an advantage for sustained movement across large distances in search of water and food. However, It was the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, approximately 201 million years ago, that truly cleared the way for dinosaurs to achieve global dominance. This extinction, possibly caused by massive volcanic eruptions associated with the breakup of Pangaea, largely eliminated the pseudoseuchians and many other large Triassic reptiles, while dinosaurs, for reasons not fully understood, proved more resilient. This event marked a turning point. With their main competitors removed, dinosaurs underwent a rapid diversification in the succeeding Jurassic period, evolving into the diverse and colossal forms that would define the Mesozoic era. The Triassic dinosaurs, though comparatively small and unassuming, were the pioneering ancestors that laid the foundation for 135 million years of dinosaur supremacy. Their evolutionary innovations in locomotion and metabolism ultimately proved to be the key to their long-term success. The Triassic period, spanning from approximately 252 million to 201 million years ago, marked a crucial time in the history of life. Following the devastating Permian-Triassic extinction event, often called the Great Dying, which wiped out nearly all marine life, the oceans were left largely empty of large predators. This ecological vacuum created a unique opportunity for terrestrial vertebrates to return to the sea, leading to the evolution of the first true marine reptiles. These early pioneers, such as nothosaurs and placodonts, displayed fascinating initial adaptations for a life in the water, setting the stage for the later, more fully aquatic giants of the Jurassic and Cretaceous. The transition from land to water is a complex evolutionary journey, requiring fundamental changes in locomotion, respiration, feeding, and reproduction. Early marine reptiles were not fully committed to a marine existence in the way later forms like Ichthyosaurs and Mosasaurs would be. Instead, many of them were amphibious, spending significant time both in the water and on land, much like modern seals or crocodiles. This transitional lifestyle is evident in their skeletal anatomy. Nothosaurs were among the earliest and most successful groups of these amphibious marine reptiles, thriving particularly during the Middle Triassic. Their fossils have been found extensively in Europe, Asia, and North Africa. A typical nothosaur, such as Nothosaurus mirabilis, was elongated and slender, ranging from about 3 to 6 meters in length. Their bodies were streamlined, reducing drag in the water, but they retained robust limbs that were paddle-like rather than true flippers. Each foot had 5 digits, often webbed, ending in claws, which would have been useful for scrambling onto land. Their long, flexible necks and elongated skulls, armed with numerous sharp, interlocking teeth, suggest they were agile fish-eaters. These teeth were pointed and conical, ideal for grasping slippery prey. The nostrils were positioned relatively high on the snout, allowing them to breathe while much of their head remained submerged, much like modern crocodiles. Nothosaurs likely propelled themselves through the water with undulations of their bodies and tails, supplemented by the powerful strokes of their paddle-like limbs. On land, they would have been slow and cumbersome, probably hauling themselves out onto rocky shores or sandy beaches to rest, bask in the sun, or lay eggs. The fossil record indicates they lived primarily in shallow coastal waters, lagoons and estuaries, environments rich in fish and other small marine organisms. Their semi-aquatic lifestyle meant they probably still laid eggs on land, as evidenced by their limb structure, which would have allowed them to move on solid ground, unlike later, fully marine reptiles. The flexibility of their bodies and necks suggests they were agile hunters, capable of darting movements to catch fish. Placodonts represent another distinct group of Triassic marine reptiles, characterized by a highly specialized diet. Unlike the fish-eating nothosaurs, placodonts were adapted for crushing hard-shelled invertebrates, such as mollusks, bivalves and gastropods, and crustaceans. Their name, meaning flat tooth, refers to their most distinctive feature: broad, flat, pavement-like teeth found on both the palate and the jaws. These teeth were ideal for grinding and crushing shells. Placodonts varied in size and body shape. Early forms, like Placodus, were relatively short-bodied and had an external appearance somewhat similar to a stout, short-necked lizard. They possessed strong, robust limbs with webbed feet, indicating an amphibious lifestyle. They likely used these limbs for propulsion in water and for moving onto land. Their teeth were positioned to provide maximum crushing power, suggesting they would have spent their time foraging on the seabed in shallow waters, searching for shelled prey. Later placodonts, such as Henodus, developed a more turtle-like appearance, evolving a broad, flattened body covered by a bony shell. This shell provided protection from predators and potentially helped with buoyancy control. Some placodonts even evolved beaks in front of their crushing teeth, which might have been used for snipping off sessile invertebrates from rocks. Their heavy, dense skeletons, often exhibiting pachyostosis, bone thickening, would have helped them stay submerged on the seafloor while foraging, acting as ballast. While their shells offered protection, it also made them even more cumbersome on land, suggesting a stronger commitment to an aquatic life than nothosaurs, though they still likely laid eggs on shore. Both nothosaurs and placodonts represent early stages in the evolutionary journey back to the sea. They retained features that allowed them to function on land, such as strong limbs and lungs not yet fully adapted for prolonged deep dives. Their presence in the fossil record, particularly in the Triassic, fills a crucial gap, illustrating how terrestrial lineages gradually adapted to aquatic life. They were key components of the recovering marine ecosystems after the Permian extinction, filling niches that had been vacated. Their success laid the groundwork for the more specialized and fully marine reptiles that would dominate the Jurassic and Cretaceous oceans, demonstrating that the path to full aquatic adaptation was not a single leap, but a series of incremental changes driven by environmental opportunities. The Jurassic period, spanning from approximately 201 million to 145 million years ago, is often heralded as the golden age of sauropods. During this time, the long-necked, long-tailed, four-legged herbivorous dinosaurs reached their peak in terms of size, diversity and ecological dominance across the continents. These gentle giants, with their columnar legs and massive bodies, were the largest land animals that ever lived, fundamentally shaping the terrestrial ecosystems of the Middle and Late Jurassic. The rise of sauropods was fueled by several environmental factors. The breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea began in the Jurassic, leading to the formation of new coastlines and epicontinental seas. This geographic change, combined with generally warmer and more humid global climates than the Triassic, fostered the proliferation of vast, lush forests dominated by conifers, cycads, ginkgos, and ferns. These abundant plant resources provided the necessary fuel for sauropods to achieve their enormous sizes. Immense size and proportions. Sauropods were characterized by a distinctive body plan, a relatively small head, an extremely long neck, a massive barrel-shaped body, thick pillar-like legs, and a very long, often whip-like tail. Their immense size was their primary defense against predators, and also allowed them to reach vegetation inaccessible to smaller herbivores. One of the most iconic Jurassic sauropods was Brachiosaurus, meaning arm lizard, aptly named for its unusually long front legs compared to its hind legs. This gave Brachiosaurus a giraffe-like posture, making it one of the tallest dinosaurs, standing perhaps 13 to 16 meters high. Its neck was held relatively upright, allowing it to browse on the highest canopy of trees, reaching leaves and branches that no other animal could. Its teeth were spoon-shaped and adapted for stripping leaves rather than chewing, suggesting it swallowed large quantities of vegetation whole. Brachiosaurus fossils are primarily found in North America and Africa, indicating a wide distribution across the continents that were once connected. Its weight estimates range from 30 to 60 tons, making it one of the heaviest terrestrial animals. Another famous Jurassic giant was Diplodocus, meaning double beam, referring to unique chevron bones under its tail vertebrae. Diplodocus was renowned for its extreme length, potentially reaching up to 27 meters, making it one of the longest land animals. However, despite its length, Diplodocus was relatively slender and lightweight compared to some other sauropods, estimated to weigh between 10 and 16 tons. Its neck was also very long, but was likely held more horizontally, used to sweep across vast areas of low-lying vegetation, or perhaps to browse from medium-height trees. Its peg-like teeth were suited for stripping leaves, or even soft aquatic plants. The extremely long, whip-like tail of Diplodocus is thought to have been used for balance, as a defensive weapon, or even for communication, possibly producing a cracking sound like a bullwhip. Diplodocus fossils are abundant in the Morrison Formation of North America. Apatosaurus, formerly and popularly known as Brontosaurus, meaning thunder lizard, was another massive Jurassic sauropod. Apatosaurus was robustly built, heavier than Diplodocus, with estimates ranging from 25 to 40 tons. It reached lengths of 22 to 26 meters. Its strong columnar legs supported its immense weight, and its powerful tail was likely also used for defense. Like Diplodocus, Apatosaurus likely browsed on ground-level or low-lying vegetation. The sheer bulk of Apatosaurus would have made it nearly impervious to attack from even the largest predators of its time once it reached adulthood. It also comes from the Morrison Formation, coexisting with Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus. Herbivorous diets and feeding strategies. The vast sizes of sauropods necessitated constant feeding to maintain their enormous metabolic demands. They employed various feeding strategies to process vast quantities of plant material. Their teeth were generally simple and peg-like or spoon-shaped, designed for stripping leaves rather than elaborate chewing. It is believed that sauropods swallowed large amounts of vegetation whole or with minimal processing in the mouth. They likely had large fermentation chambers in their guts, possibly aided by gastroliths, stomach stones, to break down tough plant fibers through microbial digestion, much like modern ruminants. Their long necks allowed them to access a wide range of vegetation, both high and low, minimizing movement and conserving energy. Locomotion and herding. Sauropods were quadrupeds, moving on 4 powerful columnar legs. Their gait was likely slow and deliberate, designed for stability rather than speed. Fossilized trackways provide crucial evidence for their locomotion. These trackways often show parallel prints of multiple individuals, with smaller, younger sauropods sometimes found in the middle of the herd, suggesting social behavior and protection of the young. This herding behavior would have offered additional defense against large predatory theropods. The immense scale and success of Jurassic sauropods reshaped terrestrial ecosystems. They were the dominant herbivores, consuming vast quantities of plant matter and influencing vegetation patterns across continents. Their reign set the stage for later, even larger sauropods in the Cretaceous, but the Jurassic period remains the quintessential era of these magnificent long-necked giants. In the late Jurassic period, from approximately 155 to 145 million years ago, the North American continent was dominated by Allosaurus fragilis, a formidable theropod that stood as the apex predator of its time. Allosaurus was not the largest theropod ever, but it was a powerful, agile, and highly successful hunter that filled a critical role in the ecosystems it inhabited, particularly in the Morrison Formation, a rich fossil bed in the western United States. Physical characteristics. Allosaurus was a large bipedal carnivore, typically reaching lengths of 8 to 9 meters, though some individuals might have approached 11 or 12 meters. Its weight is estimated to be between 1.5 and 2.5 tons. It possessed a large skull relative to its body size, a short muscular neck, and robust hind limbs that supported its weight and allowed for powerful locomotion. Its forelimbs, though relatively short compared to its hind limbs, were muscular and ended in 3-fingered hands equipped with large recurved claws, which would have been effective for grasping prey. Its long, heavy tail served as a counterbalance to its massive head and torso, aiding in balance and quick turns during pursuit. Skull and jaws. The skull of Allosaurus was particularly distinctive. It was deep and relatively narrow, armed with numerous serrated, blade-like teeth that were regularly shed and replaced throughout its life. These teeth were ideal for slicing through flesh. Unlike the bone-crushing jaws of later theropods like Tyrannosaurus Rex, Allosaurus had a more flexible skull and a relatively weaker bite force for its size. This suggests a different hunting strategy. Instead of delivering a crushing bite to break bones, Allosaurus likely used its upper jaw like a hatchet or an axe, repeatedly striking its prey to cause massive blood loss and shock. Its skull also featured prominent bony ridges above its eyes, possibly used for display or as protection for its eyes during struggles. Hunting strategies. Allosaurus was undoubtedly an active predator, preying upon the abundant herbivorous dinosaurs of the Morrison Formation. Its diet likely included various sauropods such as juvenile Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, and Cambrian, as well as large ornithischians like Stegosaurus and Camptosaurus. Its hunting strategy likely involved a combination of ambush and pursuit, relying on stealth and a quick, powerful attack. The hatchet bite hypothesis suggests that Allosaurus would open its jaws incredibly wide, rapidly bring its upper jaw down onto the prey and then pull back, using its serrated teeth to inflict deep wounds and cause rapid blood loss. Repeated strikes would eventually incapacitate the victim. Its strong neck muscles would have facilitated this powerful downward motion. Its large claws on its forelimbs would have been used to hold on to struggling prey. Evidence from fossil finds also suggests that Allosaurus might have engaged in pack hunting, or at least cooperative hunting. Several individuals of Allosaurus have been found together in bone beds, sometimes alongside the remains of large sauropods. While this doesn't definitively prove coordinated pack hunting in the same way modern wolves hunt, it suggests that multiple Allosaurus might have congregated around large carcasses or cooperated to bring down particularly large prey. A mass burial site in Utah, known as the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry, has yielded an unusually high concentration of Allosaurus remains, sometimes interpreted as a predator trap where multiple individuals were lured to a dying or trapped animal. Interactions with prey and other predators. Allosaurus shared its environment with other large predators, though it was the dominant one. Ceratosaurus, another theropod, was smaller but heavily built. Torvosaurus, a robust megalosaurid, was comparable in size to some Allosaurus individuals. These predators likely coexisted by preying on different-sized animals or occupying slightly different niches. Evidence of predator-prey interactions is sometimes found in fossilized bones. Some Stegosaurus tail spikes, thagomizers, have been found with damage consistent with impacts from a large theropod, and conversely, Allosaurus bones have been found with puncture marks that could have been inflicted by a Stegosaurus tail. This provides direct evidence of confrontations between these species. Healed injuries on Allosaurus skeletons also indicate a life of violent struggles. Allosaurus was a successful and widespread predator throughout the late Jurassic. Its robust build, powerful hatchet-like bite, and likely social tendencies made it a formidable force in its ecosystem. Its fossil record provides a wealth of information, allowing paleontologists to reconstruct not just its anatomy, but also its behavior, making it one of the best understood large theropods in the fossil record. Stegosaurus, meaning roofed lizard, is one of the most recognizable and iconic dinosaurs, largely due to its distinctive double row of large bony plates running along its back and its formidable spiked tail. This herbivorous dinosaur lived during the late Jurassic period, approximately 155 to 150 million years ago, primarily in western North America. Its unique anatomy has fascinated paleontologists and the public alike, leading to much debate about the precise functions of its most striking features. Stegosaurus was a large quadrupedal dinosaur, reaching lengths of up to 9 meters and standing about 4 meters tall at the hips. Its overall body shape was peculiar. It had a very small head in proportion to its body, a relatively short but deep neck, and a long arched back. The hind limbs were significantly longer and more powerful than its forelimbs, giving Stegosaurus a somewhat unusual posture with its rear end much higher than its shoulders. This body plan suggests a slow, deliberate gait. Its small head housed a weak beak at the front of its mouth and small leaf-shaped teeth further back, indicating that it was a low-level browser, feeding on ferns, cycads, and other ground-level vegetation. Its digestive system likely included gastroliths, or stomach stones, to help grind up tough plant material, as its teeth were not suited for extensive chewing. The most prominent feature of Stegosaurus is the series of 17 to 20 large, kite-shaped or broadly triangular bony plates, known as dermal plates or scutes, arranged in 2 alternating rows along its neck, back and tail. These plates were not directly attached to the skeleton, but were embedded in the skin. The largest plates, found over the hips, could measure up to 60 centimeters tall and 60 centimeters wide. Their arrangement has been a subject of long-standing discussion. Early reconstructions sometimes depicted them in a single row or paired symmetrically, but fossil evidence overwhelmingly supports a double alternating row. The precise number and shape of these plates varied somewhat among individual specimens, suggesting variation within the species. The function of these plates has been one of the most enduring mysteries surrounding Stegosaurus. Several hypotheses have been proposed. One prominent theory suggests the plates served a defensive purpose. Their large size and bony nature would have made Stegosaurus a difficult target for predators like Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus. However, the plates appear relatively thin and are not strongly anchored to the skeleton, which raises questions about their effectiveness against direct, powerful bites. While they might have deterred smaller or less determined predators, it's unlikely they could withstand the full force of a large theropod attack without breaking. They might have served as a passive deterrent, making the animal appear larger and more formidable. Another popular hypothesis, particularly in the mid-20th century, was that the plates acted as thermoregulatory devices, like giant radiators or solar panels. The idea was that the plates, being relatively thin and possessing a rich network of blood vessels, as indicated by grooves on their surface, could be used to absorb or dissipate heat. By orienting the plates towards the sun, Stegosaurus could warm its blood, and by orienting them parallel to the sun or towards a breeze, it could cool down. This would have been particularly useful for a large, slow-moving animal, as gigantothermy, the ability of large animals to maintain a relatively constant body temperature due to their sheer size, might not have been sufficient in all conditions. While plausible, this theory is difficult to definitively prove, and modern physiological studies suggest that while some thermal regulation might have occurred, it was likely not their primary function. A third, increasingly favoured hypothesis is that the plates served primarily for display. Their large size and prominent arrangement would have made Stegosaurus highly visible. They could have been used for species recognition, allowing individuals of the same species to identify each other, or for sexual display, with more impressive plates indicating a healthier or more desirable mate. The plates might also have been used for intimidation displays towards rivals or predators, making the animal appear even larger than it was. Their alternating arrangement would have created a striking, almost flickering visual effect as the animal moved. This theory doesn't exclude other functions, but it suggests that visual signalling was a significant aspect of their purpose. In addition to the plates, Stegosaurus possessed a much more unambiguous defensive weapon, its thagomizer. This term, coined from a Far Side cartoon, refers to the 4 long bony spikes on the end of its tail. These spikes could be up to 60 to 90 centimeters long and were extremely sharp. Fossil evidence confirms their use in defense. Puncture wounds found on the vertebrae of an Allosaurus specimen precisely match the shape and size of Stegosaurus tail spikes, providing direct proof that the thagomizer was a formidable weapon capable of inflicting serious injury. The tail itself was heavily muscled and could be swung with considerable force, allowing Stegosaurus to defend itself effectively against large predators approaching from behind or the flanks. The small brain size of Stegosaurus, roughly the size of a walnut, has often been a point of fascination and speculation, leading to the misconception that it was unintelligent. However, brain size relative to body size is not always a direct indicator of intelligence, and Stegosaurus likely possessed sufficient cognitive abilities for its survival needs in its environment. The unique combination of passive defense, plates, though debated in effectiveness, active defense, thagomizer, and a low-browse diet made Stegosaurus a successful herbivore in the late Jurassic. Its iconic plates continue to inspire scientific inquiry and capture the imagination, embodying the remarkable diversity and adaptation of prehistoric life. The Jurassic period, spanning from approximately 201 million to 145 million years ago, was a pivotal time for pterosaurs, the flying reptiles. While they first appeared in the late Triassic, it was during the Jurassic that they diversified significantly, developing more specialized forms and becoming a prominent part of the Mesozoic skies. Unlike dinosaurs, which were strictly land animals, with birds evolving from them later, pterosaurs were a separate lineage of reptiles uniquely adapted for powered flight. Early Jurassic pterosaurs, often referred to as primitive or rhamphorhynchoid forms, generally retained several characteristics from their Triassic ancestors. These typically included long tails, often with a diamond-shaped vein at the end, and teeth in their jaws. Their wings were formed by a membrane of skin and muscle, called the patagium, stretched between their elongated fourth finger, their body, and sometimes their legs. This wing structure, while different from that of birds or bats, allowed them to achieve true powered flight. One of the well-known Jurassic pterosaurs is Pterodactylus, a name that has become almost synonymous with all pterosaurs in popular culture, though it refers to a specific genus. Pterodactylus lived in the late Jurassic, particularly known from the Solnhofen limestone in Germany, famous for its exceptionally preserved fossils. Pterodactylus was a relatively small pterosaur, with a wingspan typically ranging from about 50 centimeters to just over 1 meter. It possessed a long, slender skull with numerous small conical teeth, suggesting a diet of fish and small invertebrates. Unlike earlier forms, Pterodactylus had a short tail, marking a significant evolutionary trend within pterosaurs towards reduced tails, which likely aided in aerial maneuverability. Its head often featured a small bony crest, which might have been used for display or species recognition. Its light build and efficient wings point to an agile, active aerial lifestyle, possibly darting over lagoons to snatch prey from the water's surface. Another prominent Jurassic pterosaur was Rhamphorhynchus, also known from the Solnhofen limestone and representing the more primitive lineage with a long tail. Rhamphorhynchus had a long pointed skull, armed with needle-like teeth that projected forward, perfectly suited for snagging fish. Its most distinctive feature was its very long, stiff tail, which ended in a diamond-shaped vein. This vein likely acted as a stabilizer and rudder during flight, aiding in steering and maintaining balance. Rhamphorhynchus was a highly adapted aerial hunter of fish, often depicted flying low over water bodies. Its wingspan was typically around 1 meter, similar to Pterodactylus, but its long tail gave it a different silhouette in the air. The evolution of pterosaurs during the Jurassic saw a trend towards more advanced forms, often grouped as pterodactyloids, characterized by their shorter tails, more complex crests, and sometimes larger sizes. While Pterodactylus itself was small, it was an early member of this more derived group. These shorter-tailed pterosaurs had greater control over their flight, becoming more agile and capable of more complex aerial maneuvers. The wing structure of pterosaurs was remarkable. The fourth finger was enormously elongated, forming the primary support for the wing membrane. The other 3 fingers remained small and clawed, possibly used for climbing or grasping. The wing membrane itself was not just a simple flap of skin, but was a complex structure, likely reinforced by internal fibers and musculature, allowing for precise control and adjustments during flight. Evidence for these membranes comes from rare fossils that preserve soft tissue impressions. The bones of pterosaurs were hollow and lightweight, similar to those of birds, reducing their overall body weight and making flight possible. Their sternum, breastbone, was large and keeled, providing a broad attachment point for powerful flight muscles, analogous to the keel found in birds. Aerial lifestyles varied among Jurassic pterosaurs. Some, like Pterodactylus and Rhamphorhynchus, were primarily fish-eaters, often referred to as piscivorous. Their long, slender jaws and sharp teeth were perfectly suited for catching slippery prey from the water. They likely hunted by skimming the surface of the water or by diving shallowly. Other pterosaurs might have hunted insects in the air, using their agility to snatch flying prey. Still others might have been generalists, feeding on a variety of small animals. The locomotion of pterosaurs on the ground is also an area of scientific study. While they were masters of the air, they also needed to move on land. Fossilized trackways indicate that many pterosaurs were quadrupedal on the ground, walking on all 4 limbs with their wings folded. The large 4th finger likely folded back along the arm, and the wing membrane would have collapsed. Their unique ankle structure allowed them to walk with their feet flat on the ground. This quadrupedal gait distinguished them from birds, which are bipedal. Jurassic pterosaurs were highly successful flying reptiles, adapting to a wide range of aerial niches. Their evolutionary innovations in flight, from specialized wing structure to hollow bones and powerful musculature, allowed them to dominate the skies for millions of years before the eventual rise of birds in the Cretaceous. Their fossil record, especially from exceptional Lagerstätten like Solnhofen, continues to provide crucial insights into the early evolution of powered flight invertebrates. The Jurassic period, from approximately 201 million to 145 million years ago, was the golden age for Ichthyosaurs, meaning fish lizards. These highly specialized marine reptiles reached their peak diversity, size, and ecological dominance during this time, evolving into forms remarkably convergent with modern dolphins and sharks. Their journey from land-dwelling reptiles back to a fully aquatic existence resulted in some of the most striking adaptations seen in the Mesozoic seas. Ichthyosaurs first appeared in the early Triassic, but by the Jurassic, they had diversified into a wide array of forms, becoming apex predators in many marine ecosystems. Their most striking characteristic was their highly streamlined, fusiform body shape, which was perfectly adapted for fast, efficient movement through water. Their bodies were often described as resembling those of modern dolphins or porpoises, tapering at both ends to minimize drag. This convergence with unrelated marine mammals highlights the optimal body plan for pelagic, open ocean life. A key adaptation for propulsion was the evolution of a powerful crescent-shaped caudal tail fluke. Unlike the horizontal flukes of whales and dolphins, the ichthyosaur tail fluke was vertical, similar to that of a fish or shark. This suggests that they propelled themselves through the water with powerful side-to-side movements of their tail. Evidence for this comes from exceptionally preserved fossils that show the impressions of the soft tissue of the fluke. The vertebral column extended into the lower lobe of the tail fluke, providing structural support. Their limbs were transformed into stiff paddle-like flippers. Unlike the flexible, jointed limbs of terrestrial animals, ichthyosaur flippers were rigid hydrofoils, primarily used for steering, balance, and fine-tuning their position in the water, rather than for primary propulsion. The bones within their flippers became numerous and flattened, hyperdactyly and hyperphalangy, creating a broad, stable surface. This arrangement is quite different from the flippers of plesiosaurs or mosasaurs, reflecting their distinct swimming styles. The skull and jaws of Jurassic ichthyosaurs were highly adapted for capturing aquatic prey. They typically possessed long, slender snouts, filled with numerous sharp, conical teeth. These teeth were ideal for grasping slippery fish and cephalopods, like squid and ammonites. The arrangement of teeth was often uniform, suitable for a generalist fish diet. Larger species might have had more robust teeth for tackling larger prey. Fossilized stomach contents sometimes reveal fish scales, belemnite shells, and even small marine reptile remains, confirming their predatory diets. Large eyes were another prominent feature of many ichthyosaurs, often protected by a bony sclerotic ring. This ring, composed of overlapping plates around the pupil, would have provided structural support to the eyeball, helping it maintain its shape against the immense pressures encountered during deep dives. Large eyes indicate adaptation for vision in dim light, suggesting that ichthyosaurs were active hunters in the deeper, darker parts of the ocean or at night. Respiration in ichthyosaurs, like all marine reptiles, involved breathing air at the surface. They possessed lungs and had to periodically surface to inhale. Their streamlined bodies and efficient swimming would have allowed them to minimize the energy spent on surfacing. Some studies suggest that ichthyosaurs might have had adaptations, such as flexible rib cages or the ability to collapse their lungs, to help them manage pressure changes during deep dives, similar to modern deep diving whales. This would have allowed them to exploit prey resources found in the mesopelagic zone, 200 to 1,000 meters depth. One of the most remarkable adaptations of ichthyosaurs was viviparity, meaning they gave birth to live young in the water, rather than laying eggs on land. This was a crucial evolutionary step, freeing them entirely from the terrestrial environment and allowing them to live their entire lives in the open ocean. Fossil evidence, including multiple specimens of pregnant ichthyosaurs with fully formed embryos inside their bodies, provides irrefutable proof of live birth. The young were often born tail first, a strategy seen in modern whales and dolphins to prevent drowning during birth. This viviparity distinguishes them from sea turtles, which still return to land to nest, and many other marine reptiles. Jurassic ichthyosaurs varied significantly in size. Early Jurassic forms might have been only a few meters long, while later Jurassic giants like Ophthalmosaurus, named for its large eyes, could reach lengths of 5 to 6 meters. Other genera, such as Stenopterygius and Ichthyosaurus itself, were common and successful throughout the period. Their rapid evolution and wide distribution across the global oceans highlight their ecological success. They occupied a niche similar to modern dolphins and tuna, being fast-moving pelagic predators. The decline of ichthyosaurs began in the late Jurassic and continued into the early Cretaceous, with their final extinction occurring well before the end Cretaceous event that wiped out the dinosaurs. The reasons for their decline are not fully understood, but may involve competition with newly evolving, faster-swimming fish, or the rise of new groups of marine predators like mosasaurs, or perhaps environmental changes that impacted their prey sources. Regardless of their ultimate fate, Jurassic ichthyosaurs represent a pinnacle of marine adaptation, showcasing the incredible power of evolution to reshape terrestrial forms for life in the sea. The Jurassic period, spanning from approximately 201 million to 145 million years ago, saw the proliferation of a diverse array of marine reptiles in the world's oceans. Among the most iconic of these were the plesiosaurs, a group of marine reptiles characterized by their unique body plan. Unlike the fish-like Ichthyosaurs or the later serpentine Mosasaurs, plesiosaurs possessed a distinctive combination of a broad, flattened body, 4 large paddle-like limbs, and often a remarkably long neck. This chapter will focus on the long-necked plesiosaurs that thrived in the Jurassic seas, exploring their anatomy, movement, and ecological role. Long-necked plesiosaurs were, in essence, giant marine turtles without a shell, or perhaps more accurately, marine serpents with a stout body and 4 flippers. Their most striking feature was their elongated neck, which could contain up to 76 vertebrae, far more than almost any other vertebrate. This neck was highly flexible, allowing for significant bending, particularly in the lower half closest to the body. While popular culture often depicts them with incredibly sinuous swan-like necks, able to crane far out of the water, scientific consensus suggests their necks were more rigid and less flexible than previously thought. The internal structure of their cervical, neck, vertebrae limited lateral bending, but allowed for good up and down motion. This neck length varied considerably among different species, but it was a defining characteristic of the group. The body of a plesiosaur was typically broad and robust, not as streamlined as an ichthyosaur or a dolphin. This body shape, combined with their short, tapering tail, indicates a different swimming style. Their most remarkable adaptation for aquatic life were their 4 large paddle-like limbs. These limbs were not merely webbed feet, they were highly specialized hydrofoils, rigid and strong, designed for propulsion. Each limb was composed of elongated bones and numerous extra phalanges, finger-toe bones, forming a broad paddle-shaped structure. The limbs were attached high on the body, extending outwards and downwards, giving them a somewhat awkward appearance on land, though they were entirely aquatic. The method of plesiosaur locomotion has been a subject of intense scientific debate for decades. Unlike most aquatic animals that use their tails for propulsion, like fish, ichthyosaurs and mosasaurs, plesiosaurs primarily used their 4 flippers. The prevailing theory, supported by biomechanical studies and comparisons to modern animals, suggests they moved through the water using a form of underwater flight, or rowing. This means they propelled themselves by sweeping their large paddles up and down through the water column, much like modern sea turtles or penguins use their front flippers to fly underwater. The forelimbs likely provided the main thrust, while the hind limbs assisted in propulsion and steering. This powerful rowing motion would have allowed for strong sustained swimming, though perhaps not bursts of speed comparable to an ichthyosaur. The long neck of plesiosaurs played a crucial role in their feeding strategies. It is believed that the neck allowed them to stealthily approach prey without moving their large body, which would create more turbulence and potentially alert prey. They could quickly dart their head and neck into schools of fish, or ambushing smaller marine reptiles. The flexibility of the neck allowed for rapid strikes from various angles. Their jaws were typically long and slender, lined with numerous sharp, conical teeth that interlocked when the mouth was closed. These teeth were perfectly suited for grasping and holding slippery prey like fish and cephalopods, like belemnites and ammonites. Fossil stomach contents have confirmed their diet of fish and cephalopods. Jurassic long-necked plesiosaurs occupied a variety of ecological niches. Some were relatively small, perhaps a few meters long, hunting smaller fish. Others, like the famously long-necked Allosaurus, though this species is primarily Cretaceous, earlier long-necked forms were present in the Jurassic, could reach lengths of over 14 meters, with a significant portion of that length being their neck. These larger forms would have been capable of preying on larger fish, and possibly even other smaller marine reptiles. They were common in the relatively shallow epicontinental seas that covered parts of the continents during the Jurassic, as well as in the open ocean. Fossil evidence of Jurassic plesiosaurs has been found globally, in marine sedimentary rocks from Europe, North America and Australia. Their widespread distribution indicates their success in adapting to the prevailing marine conditions. The detailed preservation of their skeletons has allowed paleontologists to reconstruct their unique anatomy and infer their specialized swimming and feeding behaviors. The Jurassic plesiosaurs were a testament to the diverse ways in which life conquered the seas, evolving a body plan that was distinct from other marine predators, yet highly effective for their long reign in the prehistoric oceans. Their presence added to the complexity and danger of the Jurassic marine ecosystems, making them a captivating component of prehistoric marine life. The late Cretaceous period, spanning from approximately 100 million to 66 million years ago, was the final act of the age of dinosaurs. Among its most iconic inhabitants were the Tyrannosaurs, a group of large predatory dinosaurs, culminating in the undisputed king of them all, Tyrannosaurus Rex. This chapter will introduce Tyrannosaurus Rex, discussing its powerful bite force, its formidable role as an apex predator, and its position within its complex ecosystem. Tyrannosaurus Rex, often abbreviated as T-Rex, is perhaps the most famous dinosaur, and for good reason. It was an enormous bipedal carnivore that roamed western North America during the very end of the Cretaceous period, from about 68 to 66 million years ago. An adult T-Rex could reach lengths of up to 12 meters, stand over 5 meters tall at the hips, and weigh between 5,000 and 9,000 kilograms, making it one of the largest terrestrial predators known to have ever lived. Its most distinctive features were its massive skull, immense serrated teeth, and relatively small two-fingered forelimbs. The most extraordinary feature of Tyrannosaurus Rex was its skull and jaws. Its skull alone could measure up to 1.5 meters in length. The jaws were incredibly robust, designed to withstand immense forces. T-Rex's teeth were thick, conical, and serrated like steak knives, perfectly adapted for crushing bone and tearing through flesh. Unlike the blade-like teeth of many other theropods, T-Rex's teeth were built for extreme force, capable of puncturing and shattering the bones of its prey. Scientific estimates of its bite force are staggering, suggesting it possessed the strongest bite of any known terrestrial animal. Some studies estimate its bite force could have exceeded 50,000 newtons, or even 60,000 newtons in its largest teeth, equivalent to several tons of pressure per square centimeter. This incredible bite force allowed T-Rex to process bone, extracting nutrients that other predators might miss. As an apex predator, Tyrannosaurus Rex sat at the very top of its food chain. It preyed upon large herbivorous dinosaurs, primarily the horned dinosaurs like Triceratops and the duck-billed hadrosaurs like Edmontosaurus, which were abundant in its late Cretaceous North American habitat. Evidence for its predatory behavior comes from various sources. Fossilized bite marks on the bones of its prey match T-Rex's teeth, and some show signs of healing, indicating that the bitten animal survived the attack, suggesting active predation rather than just scavenging. One famous Triceratops frill shows a healed T-Rex bite mark, indicating a failed attack. Furthermore, coprolites, fossilized dung, attributed to T-Rex contain pulverized bone fragments, confirming its ability to crush and digest bone. While T-Rex was undoubtedly a formidable predator, the debate over whether it was solely a hunter or also a scavenger has been a long-standing point of discussion among paleontologists. It is likely that T-Rex, like most large carnivores today, was an opportunistic feeder, both hunting its own prey and scavenging carcasses when the opportunity arose. Its acute sense of smell, indicated by large olfactory bulbs in its brain, would have been beneficial for locating carrion over long distances. Its powerful legs, while not built for extreme speed over long distances, were strong enough for powerful bursts of acceleration needed for an ambush or short chase. The role of T-Rex in its ecosystem was profound. As the dominant predator, it would have exerted top-down control on herbivore populations, influencing their numbers and behavior. Its presence likely shaped the evolution of its prey, leading to the development of defensive adaptations such as the thick frills and horns of ceratopsians, or the immense size and herding behavior of hadrosaurs. The sheer scale of its energy requirements meant it needed a vast and stable food supply, indicating that the late Cretaceous ecosystems of western North America were highly productive. The forelimbs of T-Rex have long been a subject of fascination and humour due to their disproportionately small size relative to its massive body. Each limb had only 2 functional digits. While initially thought to be vestigial, recent research suggests they may have had some function, perhaps for holding struggling prey close to its chest during a bite, assisting in pushing itself up from a lying position, or even in mating. Their musculature indicates they were stronger than their size might suggest. Tyrannosaurus Rex was not alone as a large predator. Other tyrannosaurids, such as Daspletosaurus and Albertosaurus, existed earlier or in slightly different geographical areas. However, T-Rex represents the culmination of this lineage, reaching an unprecedented size and bite force. Its fossil remains, though relatively rare, are incredibly valuable, allowing scientists to piece together a detailed picture of this magnificent creature's life, from its growth rate to its sensory capabilities. The discovery of multiple T-Rex skeletons, including juveniles and subadults, has also shed light on its growth trajectory, showing a rapid growth spurt during adolescence. Tyrannosaurus Rex stands as an enduring symbol of prehistoric power, a creature perfectly adapted to its role as the ultimate hunter in the twilight years of the dinosaurs. Among the diverse array of dinosaurs that roamed the Earth during the late Cretaceous period, Triceratops stands out as one of the most recognizable and iconic. Its name, meaning three-horned face, perfectly describes its most distinctive features: a massive bony frill at the back of its skull and three prominent horns. This chapter will delve into the anatomy of Triceratops, detailing its massive frill and horns and exploring their likely functions in defense against predators, as well as in display and communication within its own species. Triceratops was a large, quadrupedal herbivore that lived in western North America during the very end of the Cretaceous period, from about 68 to 66 million years ago, coexisting with Tyrannosaurus Rex. An adult Triceratops could reach lengths of up to 9 meters and weigh between 6,000 and 12,000 kilograms, making it one of the largest land animals of its time. Its robust, elephant-like body was supported by powerful legs. The most striking feature of Triceratops was its skull, which was among the largest of any land animal, reaching up to 2.5 meters in length. The skull was dominated by two massive brow horns, a shorter nasal horn, and a large bony frill that extended backward over its neck. The two brow horns could be up to 1 meter long, sharp and pointed. The nasal horn situated on its snout was much smaller and often blunter. The primary function of the horns and frill has long been debated, but strong evidence points to defense against predators as a key role. Triceratops lived alongside formidable predators, most notably Tyrannosaurus Rex. The large brow horns would have been incredibly effective weapons against a charging predator. A goring attack from a Triceratops would have been devastating, capable of inflicting severe wounds or even killing a large theropod. The nasal horn, though smaller, could have been used for close-range defense. Fossil evidence supports this defensive role. For instance, a Triceratops frill found with a healed T-Rex bite mark suggests that the Triceratops survived an encounter with the predator, likely by defending itself. This indicates that these features were effective deterrents or defensive tools in actual combat. The bony frill served multiple purposes. While often depicted as a simple shield to protect the neck, its true defensive capability is debated. The frill itself, while large, was often thinner in places and perforated with fenestrae, openings, suggesting it might not have been a purely impenetrable shield against the immense bite force of a T-Rex. However, even a thinner frill would have protected the vulnerable neck muscles and blood vessels from being easily severed. More importantly, the frill presented a large, intimidating surface area, making the Triceratops appear even larger and more formidable to a predator. Beyond defense, the horns and frill likely played a crucial role in intraspecific communication and display. This means they were used in interactions between members of the same species. The size, shape, and overall impressiveness of the horns and frill could have been indicators of an individual's health, strength, or maturity. Such displays are common in modern animals, where antlers or horns are used in dominance rituals, mate attraction, and territorial disputes. Evidence for intraspecific combat among Triceratops comes from fossilized skulls that show healed injuries on the frills and horns. These injuries often consist of puncture marks, scrapes, and even broken horn cores, which align with the size and shape of Triceratops' horns. These wounds are consistent with headbutting or horn-locking behaviours, much like modern bovines or deer engage in during contests for dominance or mates. This suggests that the frill was not only a passive shield but also a target during ritualized combat, absorbing blows and protecting the more vulnerable brain case. The robust nature of their skull and neck musculature would have allowed them to withstand such impacts. The frill may also have had a function in thermoregulation, helping to regulate body temperature. With a large surface area and potentially a network of blood vessels, the frill could have been used to absorb heat from the sun or radiate excess heat away from the body, similar to the ears of an elephant or the sails of some other dinosaurs. However, its primary role in defense and display is more widely supported by anatomical and fossil evidence. Triceratops was an abundant herbivore, living in herds that would have moved across the late Cretaceous landscape, browse on low-lying vegetation. Their strong beak-like mouth was well suited for cropping tough plants. Their large size and formidable defences made them a challenging prey item for even the largest predators. The combination of powerful horns, a massive frill, and immense body size allowed Triceratops to thrive in a dangerous world, embodying a classic example of both defensive evolution and intraspecific display in the age of dinosaurs. Ankylosaurus magniventris stands as the quintessential armoured dinosaur, a true living tank of the late Cretaceous period. Its name, meaning fused lizard, refers to the extensive fusion of its bones, particularly in its skull and armour plates, creating an incredibly robust and impenetrable defence. This formidable herbivore roamed what is now Western North America approximately 68 million to 66 million years ago, right up until the very end of the age of dinosaurs. Its primary defence was not speed or aggression, but an almost impregnable suit of bony armour combined with a devastating tail club. The most striking feature of Ankylosaurus was its elaborate and extensive body armour, composed of thousands of bony plates embedded directly in its skin, known as osteoderms or scutes. These osteoderms varied in size and shape, ranging from small pebble-like nodules to large, flattened, oval-shaped plates. They were arranged in rows and patterns across its back, flanks, and even its limbs, forming a continuous, flexible, yet incredibly strong shield. The bony core of each osteoderm was covered by a layer of keratin, similar to a fingernail or a turtle's shell, which would have further enhanced its protective qualities and potentially added to its sharp edges. This armour was not rigidly fused over its entire body, allowing for some flexibility in movement, but it was dense enough to deflect the most powerful bites of contemporary predators. The neck and shoulders were often protected by large fused plates, creating a sort of bony collar. The skull of Ankylosaurus was also heavily armoured, a solid block of bone with little give. Its face was covered in bony scutes, and its cheeks and jawline were often adorned with prominent horn-like projections. Even its eyelids were protected by bony plates, providing a complete defensive package for its most vulnerable area, the head. This cranial armour, combined with its low-slung posture, meant that a predator would have found it incredibly difficult to deliver a fatal bite to the head or neck. Perhaps the most iconic and formidable defensive weapon of Ankylosaurus was its massive tail club. This was not simply a heavy tail. The last few caudal, tail vertebrae were fused together, forming a rigid handle. At the very end of this handle, 2 or 4 enormous solid bony osteoderms were fused, creating a heavy, blunt and immensely powerful club. This club could weigh hundreds of kilograms. The tail itself was supported by a network of ossified tendons, which were essentially hardened tendons that ran along the sides of the tail, making the handle part of the club stiff and capable of delivering a powerful, controlled swing. This arrangement allowed Ankylosaurus to wield its tail club with considerable force, capable of shattering bones. Paleontologists have found evidence of injuries on the leg bones of large theropods that match the size and shape of an ankylosaur tail club, suggesting that these weapons were indeed used effectively in defense against predators. The muscles required to swing such a heavy club with precision would have been exceptionally strong, indicating a powerful and well-developed tail musculature. Ankylosaurus was a large dinosaur, measuring approximately 6 to 8 meters in length, about 1.7 meters tall at the hips, and weighing up to 6,000 kilograms. Its body was broad and low to the ground, giving it a stable, tank-like appearance. It was a quadruped, walking on 4 stout pillar-like legs. Its limbs were relatively short but robust, designed for supporting its immense weight rather than for speed. This slow-moving nature meant that its primary defense had to be passive armor and an active tail weapon, rather than flight. As a herbivore, Ankylosaurus had a broad shovel-like snout, indicating it was a non-selective browser or grazer, likely feeding on low-lying vegetation. Its teeth were small, leaf-shaped, and relatively weak, suggesting it did not chew its food extensively, but rather snipped off plants and swallowed them whole or with minimal processing. Its broad gut would have housed a large digestive system, possibly relying on fermentation to break down tough plant fibers, similar to modern large herbivores. Its diet would have included ferns, cycads, and possibly some early flowering plants. Ankylosaurus inhabited the lush, humid environments of the late Cretaceous, characterized by extensive floodplains, forests, and coastal areas. Its fossils are found in formations like the Hell Creek Formation in Montana and the Lance Formation in Wyoming, regions that were then part of a vast subtropical landscape. It shared its habitat with formidable predators, most notably Tyrannosaurus Rex. The interaction between Ankylosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex would have been a dramatic spectacle. For a T-Rex, an adult Ankylosaurus would have presented a significant challenge. The armored dinosaur's strategy would have been to hunker down, protecting its vulnerable underside and swing its tail club at any approaching predator. A direct hit from the tail club could have shattered the bones of a T-Rex's leg, incapacitating or even killing the attacker. This formidable defense meant that Ankylosaurus likely had few natural predators once it reached adulthood, making it a highly successful and resilient herbivore in its ecosystem. Despite its impressive size and armor, complete Ankylosaurus fossils are surprisingly rare. The heavy armor plates often disarticulated after the animal's death, scattering the individual osteoderms and making a complete skeletal reconstruction challenging. This rarity contributes to the ongoing scientific work to fully understand the intricate details of its armor arrangement and its full defensive capabilities. Nevertheless, Ankylosaurus remains a prime example of extreme defensive specialization in the dinosaur world, a testament to the evolutionary arms race between predator and prey in the late Cretaceous. Spinosaurus aegyptiacus holds the distinction of being the largest known carnivorous dinosaur, surpassing even Tyrannosaurus Rex and Giganotosaurus in length. Its unique anatomy, particularly its elongated snout and towering dorsal sail, has fascinated paleontologists and the public alike. However, it is its remarkable adaptations for a semi-aquatic lifestyle that truly set it apart, painting a picture of a formidable predator that spent a significant portion of its life in water, a stark contrast to most other large theropods. The story of Spinosaurus began in the early 20th century with the discoveries made by German paleontologist Ernst Stromer in Egypt. Between 1912 and 1914, Stromer unearthed partial remains, including distinctive tall neural spines, jaw fragments, and teeth. He described Spinosaurus in 1915. Tragically, most of these original fossils were destroyed during an Allied bombing raid on Munich in 1944, leaving scientists with only Stromer's notes and drawings. For decades, Spinosaurus remained an enigmatic figure, largely known from these limited records. The true revolution in understanding Spinosaurus came in the 2000s, with new fossil discoveries in the Kem beds of Morocco. These finds, including more complete skull elements, vertebrae and limb bones, allowed paleontologists like Nizar Ibrahim and Paul Sereno to piece together a much more comprehensive and surprising picture of this giant. Based on these new discoveries, Spinosaurus is estimated to have reached lengths of 15 to 16 meters and possibly even 17 meters, making it longer than any other known theropod. Its weight estimates vary, but it likely ranged from 6,000 to 20,000 kilograms. Its sheer size alone would have made it an imposing figure, but its unique body plan revealed a specialized hunter unlike any other large land predator. The most compelling evidence for Spinosaurus's semi-aquatic lifestyle comes from a suite of unique adaptations. Its snout was long and narrow, remarkably similar to that of a modern crocodile or gharial, rather than the deep, robust skulls of T-Rex or Giganotosaurus. This elongated snout was filled with conical, unserrated teeth, perfectly suited for grasping and holding slippery fish, rather than tearing flesh from large terrestrial prey. The nostrils were positioned high up on its skull, allowing Spinosaurus to breathe while most of its head was submerged, a common adaptation in aquatic ambush predators. Its forelimbs were unusually long and robust for a theropod, equipped with large, curved claws. These claws were likely used for hooking fish, manipulating prey, or perhaps even for clambering through muddy riverbanks. The hind limbs were relatively short compared to other large theropods, and its feet were broad and flattened, possibly even webbed, providing better propulsion in water than on land. This morphology suggests that Spinosaurus was not a fast runner on land, but was well suited for wading and swimming. A groundbreaking discovery in 2020 revealed the true nature of its tail. Unlike the stiff, muscular tails of most theropods, Spinosaurus possessed a remarkably deep, flexible and paddle-like tail, similar in shape to the tail of a newt or a crocodile. This discovery provided definitive evidence that Spinosaurus used its tail for powerful propulsion through water, confirming its status as a highly specialized aquatic hunter. The most recognizable feature of Spinosaurus is its enormous dorsal sail, formed by elongated neural spines extending from its vertebrae, sometimes reaching over 1.8 meters tall. The exact function of this sail is still debated. Hypotheses include thermoregulation, absorbing or radiating heat, display, for attracting mates or intimidating rivals, or even a combination of these. In a semi-aquatic context, a large sail could have been a prominent visual signal above the water surface, aiding in communication or territorial displays. It might also have helped stabilize the animal in water, acting like a keel. Spinosaurus's primary diet consisted of fish, supported by fossil evidence such as fish scales found in its stomach region, and a large sawfish vertebra embedded in one of its teeth. It likely hunted in the vast river systems, deltas, and coastal swamps of late Cretaceous North Africa. Its hunting strategy probably involved wading in shallow waters, using its sensitive snout to detect fish, and then rapidly snapping them up. It may have also pursued prey in deeper water, propelled by its powerful tail. The semi-aquatic lifestyle of Spinosaurus allowed it to occupy a unique ecological niche, enabling it to coexist with other large terrestrial predators of its time, such as Carcharodontosaurus, by exploiting a different food source. While Carcharodontosaurus hunted large land herbivores, Spinosaurus dominated the aquatic food chain, demonstrating how different large predators could share the same general environment without direct competition for the same prey. The ongoing scientific debate and evolving reconstructions of Spinosaurus highlight the challenges of working with fragmentary fossil evidence. Each new find brings a clearer picture, yet much about its exact behavior and capabilities remains a subject of active research and discussion, making Spinosaurus one of the most dynamic and intriguing dinosaurs ever discovered. During the late Cretaceous period, approximately 98 million to 66 million years ago, a group of marine reptiles known as Mosasaurs rose to become the undisputed apex predators of the world's oceans. These formidable creatures, distantly related to modern monitor lizards and snakes, evolved rapidly from terrestrial ancestors to dominate marine ecosystems, filling the ecological niches left vacant by the decline of Ichthyosaurs. Their reign as sea lords was absolute, patrolling both shallow epicontinental seas and open ocean waters across the globe. The first mosasaur fossils were discovered in the late 18th century near the Meuse River in the Netherlands, giving them their name. Early finds, including a massive skull, puzzled scientists who initially thought they belonged to a crocodile or a whale. It was Georges Cuvier, the renowned French naturalist, who correctly identified them as a new group of extinct marine reptiles. Subsequent discoveries revealed an incredible diversity of forms, ranging from relatively small species a few meters long to colossal giants. The body plan of a mosasaur was highly adapted for aquatic life. They possessed elongated, serpentine bodies, which were powerfully muscular and flexible, allowing for efficient undulatory swimming. Their forelimbs, though derived from terrestrial lizard limbs, were modified into broad, paddle-like flippers. The forelimbs were generally larger and more robust than the hind limbs, used primarily for steering and stability. The primary means of propulsion came from their long, laterally flattened tails, which were powerfully muscled and moved in a side-to-side motion, similar to a crocodile or a sea snake. Some advanced mosasaurs even developed a small shark-like fluke at the end of their tails, further enhancing their propulsive power. The skull and jaws of mosasaurs were formidable weapons. Their jaws were long and powerful, equipped with numerous sharp, conical teeth, perfectly suited for grasping and puncturing slippery prey. Crucially, mosasaur jaws possessed a unique hinge in the middle of the lower jaw, allowing them to flex and expand their gape. This adaptation, combined with a loosely connected skull, enabled them to swallow surprisingly large prey whole, a feature also seen in snakes. Furthermore, many mosasaurs had an additional row of teeth on their palate known as pterygoid teeth, which helped to firmly secure prey as it was being manipulated down the throat. Mosasaurs exhibited an incredible diversity in size and form, allowing them to occupy a wide range of ecological niches. Smaller species, a few meters in length, might have hunted fish and cephalopods in coastal waters. Mid-sized mosasaurs like Cledastes were agile predators. The true giants, such as Tylosaurus and Mosasaurus hoffmanni, could reach lengths of up to 15 to 17 meters, making them among the largest predators in their ecosystems. These colossal forms were capable of preying on virtually anything in the water, including large fish, sharks, other marine reptiles, including smaller mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, and even seabirds. Their teeth varied depending on their diet. Some had more robust, blunt teeth for crushing shelled prey like ammonites, while others had sharper, more pointed teeth for piercing fish. Mosasaurs were viviparous, meaning they gave birth to live young in the water. This was a critical adaptation for a fully marine lifestyle, as it eliminated the need for females to return to land to lay eggs, a vulnerable period for both mother and offspring. Fossil evidence of mosasaurs with embryonic remains inside their bodies confirms this reproductive strategy. This allowed them to remain fully independent of land, maximizing their efficiency in the aquatic environment. Their sensory adaptations were also well suited for marine hunting. Mosasaurs had large eyes, suggesting good underwater vision. While direct evidence is scarce, some theories propose that mosasaurs, being related to snakes, might have possessed a forked tongue that could have been used to taste the water, detecting chemical cues from prey, similar to how snakes use their vomeronasal organ. This chemoreception would have been a valuable tool in the vast open ocean. Mosasaurs were globally distributed, with fossils found on every continent, indicating their widespread success in the late Cretaceous. They thrived in the warm, shallow epicontinental seas that covered much of the continents at the time, as well as in the open ocean. Their rise coincided with the decline of Ichthyosaurs, and while they coexisted with plesiosaurs, mosasaurs ultimately became the dominant apex predators. They represent a remarkable example of rapid evolutionary adaptation, filling the top predator role in marine food webs just before the end of the Mesozoic era. The reign of the mosasaurs, however, came to an abrupt end with the Cretaceous-Paleogene (KP) extinction event approximately 66 million years ago. The asteroid impact and subsequent global environmental collapse led to the demise of all non-avian dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and all marine reptiles, including the mighty mosasaurs. Their extinction cleared the way for the rise of new marine predators, eventually including large sharks and marine mammals in the subsequent Cenozoic era. The mosasaurs remain a powerful testament to the dynamic and often deadly nature of prehistoric oceans. The Cretaceous period, the final chapter of the Mesozoic era, witnessed the spectacular evolution of pterosaurs, the flying reptiles, to unprecedented sizes. While earlier pterosaurs were often small to medium-sized, the late Cretaceous saw the emergence of true giants, with wingspans reaching the size of small airplanes. These colossal flyers dominated the skies, filling ecological niches that would later be occupied by large birds. The most famous and largest among them is Quetzalcoatlus northropi. Quetzalcoatlus northropi, named after the Aztec feathered serpent god, was an Ashdashid pterosaur that lived during the late Cretaceous, around 68 to 66 million years ago, in what is now North America. Its fossil remains, first discovered in Big Bend National Park, Texas, in the 1970s, revealed an animal of truly immense proportions. Estimates for its wingspan vary, but conservative figures place it at 10 to 11 meters, approximately 33 to 36 feet, making it the largest known flying animal of all time. Some older estimates push the wingspan even higher, to 15 meters or more, though these are now generally considered overestimates. Despite its enormous size, its estimated weight was relatively light for its bulk, likely around 200 to 250 kilograms, or 440 to 550 pounds, due to its hollow bones and lightweight construction. The Ashdarchids, the family to which Quetzalcoatlus belonged, were characterized by their extremely long necks, unusually long, stiffened skulls, and relatively short bodies. Their wings were formed by a membrane of skin and muscle, stretching from their elongated fourth finger to their ankles, supported by a framework of lightweight hollow bones. Quetzalcoatlus specifically had an exceptionally long toothless beak, longer than its skull, which would have been a significant tool for its feeding strategy. The sheer size of Quetzalcoatlus raises questions about how it was able to fly. Researchers have extensively studied its biomechanics, focusing on takeoff, sustained flight, and landing. For takeoff, It is believed that Quetzalcoatlus used a powerful quadrupedal launch. Unlike birds, which typically launch bipedally, pterosaurs used both their hind limbs and their powerful forelimbs. By crouching down and then rapidly extending all four limbs, they could vault themselves into the air. Computer simulations and studies of their limb proportions suggest a powerful spring-like action, propelling them upwards. Once airborne, its large wings would have allowed it to glide efficiently, likely making use of thermal updrafts, much like modern large soaring birds such as condors or albatrosses, but on a much grander scale. Its long neck and head would have acted as a movable counterbalance during flight, aiding in stability and maneuverability. Landing for such a large creature would have been a complex maneuver, likely involving a controlled stall and a quadrupedal touchdown, similar to takeoff in reverse. The lifestyle of Quetzalcoatlus has been a subject of considerable debate. Initially, based on its presence in inland deposits far from coasts, it was proposed as an inland scavenger, much like a giant stork or vulture. Its long, pointed beak seemed suitable for probing carcasses. However, more recent studies have suggested a different dietary preference. Its extremely long neck and narrow, toothless jaws, while capable of probing, also resemble those of modern ground-foraging birds like storks, hornbills, or even some ground hornbills. This has led to the hypothesis that Quetzalcoatlus was a terrestrial stalker forager. In this scenario, it would have walked on all fours across the late Cretaceous floodplains and forests, using its long neck and beak to snap up small prey, such as baby dinosaurs, small mammals, lizards, or even fish found in shallow water. Its presence in inland environments, rather than coastal ones, supports this terrestrial hypothesis. It was not a marine fish-eater like many earlier pterosaurs. Other giant ajdarchids existed in the Cretaceous, supporting the idea that large size was a successful evolutionary strategy for this group. Hatzegopteryx tambema, from what is now Romania, was another colossal ajdarchid, potentially rivaling Quetzalcoatlus in wingspan. Interestingly, Hatzegopteryx had a much broader, more robust skull and a shorter, thicker neck than Quetzalcoatlus. This suggests it might have had a different ecological role, possibly preying on larger animals, including small dinosaurs, on its ancient island habitat, filling a niche typically occupied by large theropod dinosaurs elsewhere. The robust skull might have allowed it to deliver more powerful bites, suggesting a more active predatory role rather than just scavenging or foraging for small items. The success of giant pterosaurs in the late Cretaceous underscores their remarkable evolutionary versatility. They represent the culmination of pterosaur evolution, pushing the boundaries of what was possible for flying vertebrates. Their existence highlights the diverse forms of life that thrived in the Mesozoic era, demonstrating that the skies were just as dynamic and full of specialized creatures as the land and sea. Their disappearance at the end of the Cretaceous period marked the end of an era dominated by these magnificent winged reptiles, leaving the skies open for the diversification of birds. The fossil record of these giants, though often fragmentary due to their delicate hollow bones, provides compelling evidence of their existence and capabilities. Paleontologists continue to analyze their skeletal structures, muscle attachment points, and aerodynamic principles to refine our understanding of how these truly enormous creatures achieved flight and thrived in their ancient world. The geological formations where their remains are found, often ancient floodplains or coastal sediments, offer clues about their preferred habitats and interactions with other prehistoric life. The study of Quetzalcoatlus and its relatives continues to be a frontier in paleontology, constantly revealing new insights into the limits of biological engineering and the incredible diversity of life that has graced our planet. For many decades, dinosaurs were depicted as large, scaly reptiles, much like overgrown lizards or crocodiles. This image dominated popular culture and even scientific understanding. However, beginning in the late 20th century, a series of groundbreaking fossil discoveries, primarily from China, revolutionized our understanding of dinosaur appearance and their evolutionary relationship to birds. These discoveries revealed that many dinosaurs, particularly among the theropods, the group including Tyrannosaurus Rex, possessed feathers. The first definitive evidence of feathered dinosaurs came in 1996, with the discovery of Sinosauropteryx prima in the Liaoning province of China. This small carnivorous theropod, about the size of a turkey, preserved clear impressions of short hair-like structures along its body and tail. While not complex flight feathers, These protofeathers were unequivocally part of its integument, indicating that some dinosaurs were indeed covered in fibrous filaments. This discovery was a monumental turning point, as it provided the first direct fossil evidence supporting the long-held hypothesis that birds evolved from dinosaurs. The fine-grained sediments of the Jehol biota, where Sinosauropteryx was found, were crucial for preserving such delicate structures, which would normally decay or be lost during fossilization. Following Sinosauropteryx, an explosion of feathered dinosaur fossils from the Jehol biota in China continued to rewrite the dinosaur story. These exquisitely preserved specimens, often found in fine-grained volcanic ash deposits, showcased an incredible diversity of feather types across various theropod lineages. Some dinosaurs, like Delong paradoxus, showed simple, hair-like filaments similar to those of Sinosauropteryx. These early forms of feathers likely provided insulation, akin to the fur of mammals, suggesting that these dinosaurs might have been warm-blooded, or at least capable of maintaining a more stable body temperature than previously thought. As evolution progressed, more complex feather types appeared. Species such as Caudipteryx and Protarchaeopteryx displayed contour feathers, which have a central shaft and barbs forming a vein, much like the body feathers of modern birds. These feathers covered their bodies and were present on their short arms and tails. While these dinosaurs were not capable of sustained flight, the presence of these more developed feathers indicated a clear evolutionary progression towards the structures seen in birds. The discovery of Microraptor guy in 2003 was particularly astonishing. This small dromaeosaurid, a group that includes Velociraptor, had well-developed flight feathers on all four of its limbs, including its legs. This four-winged dinosaur suggested an evolutionary stage where both forelimbs and hind limbs played a role in aerial locomotion, potentially using a gliding or rudimentary flapping style. The arrangement of its feathers implied it might have been an agile glider, or even capable of short bursts of controlled flight, possibly from trees. The presence of feathers on dinosaurs fundamentally changed our perception of their appearance and behaviour. Instead of being drab, scaly beasts, many theropods were likely vibrant, bird-like creatures. Beyond insulation and flight, feathers likely served multiple purposes. Thermoregulation was a primary function, with proto-feathers and downy feathers providing insulation to help maintain body temperature in changing environments. This further supported the idea of higher metabolic rates in these dinosaurs. Feathers also served for display. Brightly coloured feathers could have been used for attracting mates, intimidating rivals, or signalling within a group, similar to the elaborate plumage of many modern birds. The discovery of melanosomes, pigment-containing structures, in the feathers of Sinosauropteryx and Ankylosaurus provided direct evidence of original coloration, revealing patterns like stripes, spots, and even reddish-brown and black hues. Ankylosaurus was even found to have a reddish crest, similar to modern birds, strongly suggesting a role in visual display. Feathers could also have provided camouflage, helping dinosaurs blend into their environment, whether to ambush prey or avoid predators, through patterns like countershading. Furthermore, feathered arms or bodies could have been used to brood eggs, similar to modern birds, providing warmth and protection to their nests, hinting at complex parental care behaviours. The close evolutionary link between feathered dinosaurs and birds is now overwhelmingly supported by fossil evidence. Birds are, in essence, surviving lineages of feathered theropod dinosaurs. Many anatomical features once thought to be unique to birds, such as hollow bones, a wishbone, furcula, and a backward-pointing pubis bone, have now been found in various non-avian theropod dinosaurs. The discovery of feathers cemented this connection, making the evolutionary journey from small predatory dinosaurs to diverse avian forms much clearer. Transitional fossils like Archaeopteryx found in the 19th century were once isolated pieces of evidence. Now they are part of a rich tapestry of feathered dinosaurs that illustrate the step-by-step acquisition of avian features. The ongoing discoveries continue to fill in the gaps in this evolutionary narrative, showing a gradual transition of features over millions of years. The impact of feathered dinosaur discoveries extends beyond appearance. It has influenced theories about dinosaur metabolism, behaviour, and their overall place in the Mesozoic ecosystems. It suggests that many dinosaurs might have been more active and intelligent than previously thought, possessing complex social structures and even forms of parental care. While not all dinosaurs were feathered, for instance, Large sauropods and armored dinosaurs generally show scaled skin impressions. The prevalence of feathers among many theropod, and even some Ornithischian lineages, has forever altered our understanding of these magnificent prehistoric creatures, bringing them closer to the birds we see today. The ongoing research into fossilized feathers, using advanced microscopic techniques, continues to reveal new details about their structure, function, and even their original colors, further enhancing our vibrant picture of prehistoric life. The Mesozoic era, often called the Age of Dinosaurs, was also a critical period for the evolution of mammals. While dinosaurs dominated the terrestrial megafauna for over 160 million years, early mammals, typically small and inconspicuous, were quietly diversifying and developing key adaptations that would allow them to flourish after the dinosaur extinction. These early mammals were generally nocturnal and secretive, occupying ecological niches that kept them out of direct competition with the large reptiles. Their survival and eventual success against the backdrop of dinosaur dominance is a testament to their evolutionary ingenuity. The very first mammals evolved from a group of mammal-like reptiles called synapsids during the late Triassic period, approximately 225 million years ago. These earliest mammals, such as Morganeucodon and Megazostrodon, were tiny, shrew-like creatures, rarely growing larger than a mouse or a small rat. They possessed several defining mammalian characteristics, though some features were still transitional from their synapsid ancestors. The fossil record of these early mammals is often sparse, consisting mainly of teeth and jaw fragments, as their small, delicate bones were less likely to be preserved. However, these small fragments provide crucial insights into their evolutionary path. Key adaptations that distinguished early mammals from their reptilian cousins, and which were crucial for their survival in a dinosaur-dominated world, included the development of hair or fur. While direct fossil evidence for fur is rare, impressions and inferred characteristics suggest early mammals were covered in a pelage. This provided essential insulation, indicating a higher metabolic rate and the ability to maintain a more constant body temperature, a characteristic known as endothermy or homeothermy. Being warm-blooded allowed them to be active in cooler temperatures or during the night, when large cold-blooded dinosaurs would be less active. This nocturnal lifestyle was a key strategy for avoiding daytime predators and competition. Early mammals also developed an increased metabolism, allowing for sustained activity. This required more efficient food processing than their reptilian counterparts. A significant adaptation in this regard was the evolution of specialized teeth, a condition known as heterodonty. Unlike the simple, often uniform teeth of many reptiles, early mammals developed differentiated teeth, including incisors for cutting, canines for tearing, and molars for grinding. This allowed for more thorough chewing of food, extracting more energy from each meal. Their molars in particular had complex cusps that interlocked precisely, enabling efficient processing of diverse diets, from insects to plant matter. Improvements in jaw mechanics were also vital. The mammalian jaw evolved to have a single bone, the dentary, articulating directly with the skull. This simplified jaw structure allowed for a stronger bite and more efficient chewing movements. The other bones of the reptilian jaw, which were involved in jaw articulation in their ancestors, became detached and migrated to form part of the inner ear, improving hearing. This sophisticated inner ear, aided by the repurposed jaw bones, provided excellent hearing in low-light conditions, crucial for nocturnal activity. Their relatively large olfactory bulbs, parts of the brain associated with smell, further suggest a keen sense of smell, vital for locating food and detecting predators in the dark. Early mammals also exhibited a larger relative brain size compared to reptiles of similar body size. Their brains, particularly in areas related to processing sensory information and coordinating complex behaviors, were more developed. This increased intelligence would have been an advantage in navigating complex environments, learning from experience, and effectively avoiding the myriad of dinosaurian threats. Perhaps one of the most significant evolutionary innovations was in reproduction and parental care. While the very earliest mammals likely laid eggs, similar to modern monotremes such as platypuses, most Mesozoic mammals evolved viviparity, meaning live birth, or at least carried their young in pouches, similar to marsupials. Critically, mammals also developed extensive parental care, including suckling their young with milk. This provided a protected developmental period for offspring, allowing them to grow larger and more developed before facing the dangers of the outside world, thereby increasing their chances of survival. This prolonged period of parental investment is a hallmark of mammalian evolution. During the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, mammals continued to diversify, albeit remaining relatively small and mostly secretive. They occupied a wide range of niches, primarily as insectivores, omnivores, or small herbivores. They foraged for insects, worms, seeds, fruits, and other small plant matter in the undergrowth or at night. Their small size allowed them to exploit resources that were less accessible or desirable for large dinosaurs. They lived in the shadows of the giant reptiles, largely avoiding direct competition or predation from the largest dinosaurs, though small theropods and other predators would have certainly hunted them. Different lineages of Mesozoic mammals evolved, showcasing a variety of forms and lifestyles. Multituberculates were a highly successful and long-lived group, often resembling modern rodents. They had distinctive multicusped teeth, adapted for grinding plants and seeds. They were among the most diverse and abundant mammalian groups throughout the Mesozoic, surviving well into the Cenozoic era. Triconodonts were another group, often characterized by three cusped teeth arranged in a row. Some triconodonts, like Repenomamus giganticus from the early Cretaceous of China, grew larger than typical Mesozoic mammals, reaching the size of a badger. This astonishing fossil was found with the remains of a young Psittacosaur, a small horned dinosaur in its stomach, providing direct evidence that some Mesozoic mammals were capable of preying on juvenile dinosaurs, a revelation that challenged the long-held assumption that dinosaurs exclusively dominated mammals in terms of predation. The ancestors of modern placental and marsupial mammals, collectively known as therians, also emerged during the Mesozoic, particularly in the late Cretaceous. These groups would eventually dominate the Cenozoic era. Their early forms were still small, but they possessed the key reproductive strategies that would allow for their explosive diversification after the KPG extinction event. The evolution of the placenta in placentals allowed for a longer gestation period within the mother, resulting in more developed offspring at birth. Marsupials, on the other hand, gave birth to very undeveloped young that completed their development in a pouch. The survival and diversification of early mammals in a dinosaur-dominated world demonstrates their remarkable resilience and adaptability. By specializing in nocturnal activity, developing efficient metabolisms, and refining their senses and reproductive strategies, they carved out a crucial ecological foothold. When the asteroid impact at the end of the Cretaceous wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs and many other large reptiles, these small, agile and adaptable mammals were perfectly positioned to take advantage of the newly available ecological space, leading to the rapid and dramatic radiation that defines the age of mammals in the Cenozoic. Their long, quiet journey through the Mesozoic laid the groundwork for the diverse mammalian life that thrives on Earth today. The reign of the non-avian dinosaurs, which had lasted for approximately 165 million years, came to an abrupt and dramatic end about 66 million years ago. This cataclysmic event, known as the Cretaceous Paleogene, or KPG, extinction event, wiped out roughly 3/4 of all plant and animal species on Earth, fundamentally reshaping the course of life on our planet. While various theories about the cause had been proposed over the years, scientific consensus overwhelmingly points to a colossal asteroid impact as the primary driver of this mass extinction. For a long time, the cause of the dinosaur extinction was a great mystery, with ideas ranging from disease epidemics to gradual climate change or even intense volcanic activity. The breakthrough came in 1980, when a team of scientists led by Luis Alvarez and his son Walter Alvarez made a startling discovery. They found an unusually high concentration of the element iridium in a thin layer of clay precisely at the KPG boundary, a geological layer marking the end of the Cretaceous period and the beginning of the Paleogene period. Iridium is very rare in Earth's crust, but much more abundant in asteroids and comets. This global iridium anomaly suggested that a large extraterrestrial object had collided with Earth. Further evidence quickly mounted. Scientists discovered tiny shocked quartz grains at the KPG boundary worldwide. These quartz grains exhibit unique microscopic deformation patterns that can only be formed by the extreme pressures of a powerful impact. Additionally, small glass spherules or tektites, formed when molten rock is ejected into the atmosphere and then solidifies as it falls back to Earth, were found at the boundary. These spherules matched the chemical composition of rocks found in the Yucatan Peninsula. The smoking gun was finally identified in the early 1990s. The Chicxulub crater, a massive buried impact structure approximately 180 kilometers, about 112 miles, in diameter, located beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Geochronological dating confirmed that this crater was formed precisely 66 million years ago, aligning perfectly with the KPG boundary and the iridium layer. The asteroid, estimated to be about 10 to 15 kilometers, 6 to 9 miles wide, struck Earth with unimaginable force. The immediate effects were catastrophic. The impact generated an immense shockwave that flattened everything for hundreds of kilometers around the impact site. An enormous tsunami, potentially hundreds of meters high, surged across the Gulf of Mexico, devastating coastal regions far inland. Massive wildfires ignited globally, fueled by the intense heat and debris ejected from the impact, consuming vast forests and adding immense amounts of soot to the atmosphere. However, the longer-term global environmental consequences of the impact were even more devastating. The collision ejected trillions of tons of dust, ash and soot into the atmosphere. This vast cloud rapidly spread around the globe, blocking out sunlight for months, possibly even years. This period is often referred to as an impact winter. Without sunlight, temperatures plummeted worldwide, photosynthesis largely shut down, and the Earth plunged into a prolonged period of darkness and extreme cold. The collapse of photosynthesis had a profound ripple effect throughout the food chain. Plants, the base of nearly all terrestrial and marine ecosystems, died off en masse. Herbivorous animals, which fed on plants, starved, and subsequently, the carnivorous animals that preyed on herbivores also perished. In the oceans, phytoplankton, the microscopic plant-like organisms that form the base of the marine food web, suffered a catastrophic collapse, leading to the starvation of zooplankton, fish, and eventually the large marine predators. Further environmental stress came from acid rain. The asteroid impact vaporized rocks rich in sulfur, releasing massive quantities of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. This gas combined with water vapor to form sulfuric acid, raining down globally. This acidic precipitation poisoned terrestrial and aquatic environments, dissolving shells and skeletons of many organisms and further disrupting ecosystems. In the oceans, the rapid dissolution of atmospheric carbon dioxide into seawater also led to widespread ocean acidification, making it difficult for organisms that build shells or skeletons out of calcium carbonate, such as plankton, corals, and mollusks, to survive. The KPG extinction was highly selective. While the non-avian dinosaurs, all land-based dinosaurs except birds, famously disappeared, many other groups also vanished. This included all pterosaurs, flying reptiles, all mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, marine reptiles, and a significant number of marine invertebrates like ammonites and belemnites, which had been abundant throughout the Mesozoic. Many species of plankton, vital to marine food webs, also died out. However, some groups survived and even thrived in the aftermath. Birds, which are avian dinosaurs, successfully crossed the KPG boundary, eventually diversifying into the immense variety we see today. Many mammals, crocodiles, turtles, lizards, and snakes also survived. The selectivity of the extinction can be partly explained by certain characteristics that provided a survival advantage. Animals that were generally smaller, more generalized in their diet, omnivores, or capable of burrowing and sheltering from the immediate impact and subsequent darkness, had a better chance. For example, many surviving land animals were small enough to find shelter underground or in water, and could subsist on detritus or seeds, which could survive the impact winter. In the oceans, organisms that were less reliant on surface plankton, or those that could endure periods of low food supply, fared better. The KPG extinction marked a dramatic turning point in Earth's history. It cleared the ecological stage, removing the dominant large reptiles and creating vast, empty niches. This catastrophic loss of life paved the way for an unprecedented period of evolutionary diversification for the surviving groups, most notably the mammals, leading directly into the Cenozoic era, the age of mammals. The event serves as a powerful reminder of how vulnerable Earth's ecosystems are to sudden, extreme environmental shocks. The Cenozoic era, which began approximately 66 million years ago and continues to the present day, is often referred to as the Age of Mammals. This designation highlights the remarkable diversification and ecological dominance achieved by mammals following the catastrophic KP extinction event that ended the reign of the non-avian dinosaurs. With the removal of their large reptilian competitors, mammals, which had lived in the shadows for over 160 million years, seized the opportunity to radiate into a vast array of forms and sizes, filling nearly every available ecological niche. At the very beginning of the Cenozoic, in the Paleocene epoch, the surviving mammals were generally small, often shrew-like or rodent-sized creatures. They were typically insectivores or omnivores, occupying humble roles in the recovering ecosystems. Their small size, generalist diets, and often nocturnal habits had likely contributed to their survival through the extinction event, allowing them to shelter from the immediate environmental cataclysms and subsist on detritus or surviving plant matter. However, with the disappearance of the large dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and marine reptiles, vast ecological spaces opened up. The Earth's climate in the early Cenozoic was also generally warmer than today, particularly during the Paleocene and Eocene epochs, fostering lush vegetation and widespread forests. These conditions provided fertile ground for the rapid adaptive radiation of mammals. This means that from a few ancestral forms, numerous new species evolved quickly, adapting to diverse lifestyles and habitats. One of the most striking trends was the rapid increase in body size. Within a few million years of the KPG event, mammals began to grow much larger. This gigantism was a response to the availability of abundant resources and the absence of large predators that had once kept them in check. For example, large browse mammals quickly evolved to fill the roles of sauropods and large ornithischians. Early forms like pantodonts and dinosaurs, such as Coryphodon and Wintertherium, appeared, though many of these early groups eventually became extinct. Later, during the Oligocene, Miocene and Pliocene epochs, some mammalian lineages produced truly colossal creatures. The largest land mammal to ever live, Paraceratherium, an ancient rhinoceros relative, roamed Eurasia during the Oligocene, standing up to 5.5 meters, 18 feet tall at the shoulder, and weighing up to 20 tons, towering over modern elephants. Mammals diversified into a wide array of specialized herbivores. Perissodactyls, odd-toed ungulates like horses, rhinoceroses, and tapirs, and artiodactyls, even-toed ungulates like cattle, deer, pigs, and hippos, became dominant grazers and browsers. The evolution of grasslands during the Miocene, driven by global cooling and drying trends, further fueled the diversification of grazing mammals, leading to the development of specialized teeth, high-crowned molars, for grinding tough grasses. Predatory mammals also underwent significant evolution. Early Cenozoic carnivores included groups like the creodonts, which initially filled the large predator niches. Later, the order Carnivora, which includes modern cats, dogs, bears, and weasels, diversified. Iconic predatory mammals of the Cenozoic included the fearsome saber-toothed cats, like Smilodon, and massive dire wolves, which hunted the large herbivores of the Ice Age. One of the most remarkable adaptive radiations occurred as mammals returned to the sea. Starting from small wolf-like ancestors, some lineages gradually adapted to aquatic life, evolving into the diverse array of marine mammals we see today. Early whales, like Basilosaurus, still had hind limbs, but gradually became fully aquatic, developing powerful tails and flippers. This radiation led to the highly specialized toothed whales, dolphins, orcas, sperm whales, and baleen whales, blue whales, humpbacks, becoming the largest animals on Earth. Other marine mammal groups include seals, sea lions, walruses, and sea cows, manatees and dugongs, each adapting to different marine niches. The conquest of the air by mammals also occurred during the Cenozoic with the evolution of bats. These unique flying mammals appeared remarkably early, with fully formed wings found in Eocene fossils, indicating a rapid evolution from a terrestrial ancestor. Bats diversified into an incredible array of forms, occupying various niches as insectivores, frugivores, and even blood feeders. The primate lineage from which humans eventually evolved also underwent significant diversification during the Cenozoic. Starting as small tree-dwelling creatures in the Paleocene and Eocene, primates gradually diversified into monkeys, apes, and eventually hominins, adapting to arboreal and then increasingly terrestrial lifestyles. especially with the expansion of grasslands. The Cenozoic era was not uniformly warm. It experienced significant climate change, including a general cooling trend that culminated in the Pleistocene ice ages. These climate shifts drove further mammalian adaptations and migrations. The spread of grasslands, the formation of ice sheets, and the opening and closing of land bridges like Beringia all influenced the distribution and evolution of mammalian faunas across continents. The success of Cenozoic mammals stemmed from a combination of their evolutionary advantages, like endothermy, efficient chewing, and parental care, the sudden availability of diverse ecological roles, and their ability to adapt to changing global climates. From the tiny shrew to the colossal whale, the Cenozoic is a testament to the power of adaptive radiation in shaping the incredible diversity of life on Earth. The woolly mammoth, Mammuthus primigenius, stands as one of the most iconic and recognizable creatures of the Ice Age. These magnificent megafauna dominated the cold, grassy plains of the Northern Hemisphere for hundreds of thousands of years during the Pleistocene epoch, a period extending from approximately 2,600,000 years ago to about 11,700 years ago. Their legacy is etched not only in the fossil record, but also in the ancient human cultures that coexisted with them. Woolly mammoths were members of the elephant family, Elephantidae, and were closely related to modern Asian elephants. Their evolutionary lineage traces back to earlier mammoth species that originated in Africa and gradually spread across Eurasia and then into North America via the Beringia land bridge during periods of low sea level. Over successive generations, they evolved remarkable adaptations to survive the harsh, cold environments of the Ice Age. The most distinctive adaptation of the woolly mammoth was its thick fur. This coat consisted of two layers, an outer layer of long, coarse guard hairs, up to 1 meter, 3 feet in length, which shed rain and snow, and a dense, woolly undercoat that provided exceptional insulation. Evidence for this fur comes from remarkably well-preserved frozen carcasses found in the permafrost of Siberia and Alaska, some still retaining skin, hair, and even internal organs. This natural insulation allowed them to thrive in temperatures that would be lethal to modern elephants. Other adaptations to conserve heat included small ears and a short tail, both significantly reduced in size compared to modern elephants. This minimized surface area exposed to the cold, reducing heat loss. Beneath their skin, woolly mammoths also possessed a thick layer of subcutaneous fat, up to 10 centimeters, 4 inches thick, which acted as both an insulator and an energy reserve, crucial for surviving lean winter months. Recent studies of mammoth DNA have even suggested adaptations at a molecular level, such as specialized hemoglobin that could efficiently release oxygen to tissues even at very cold body temperatures, enhancing their ability to function in freezing conditions. Physically, woolly mammoths were similar in height to modern African elephants, standing between 2.5 to 3.5 meters, 8 to 11.5 feet, tall at the shoulder. However, they were generally stockier and had a distinctive high, dome-shaped head and a sloping back, which differentiated them from other elephant species. Their most striking features were their enormous curved tusks, which could reach lengths of up to 4 meters, 13 feet, in males. These tusks spiraled outwards and then inwards, forming a complex curve. They were not just for display. Analysis suggests they were actively used for various purposes, sweeping away snow to access vegetation, digging for buried plants, stripping bark from trees, and possibly for defense or fighting among males for dominance. The diet of woolly mammoths primarily consisted of grasses and sedges. Their specialized molars were large, flat and ridged, designed for grinding tough fibrous plant material, much like a modern cow. This diet aligns with their preferred habitat, the mammoth steppe, a vast cold and dry grassland ecosystem that covered much of northern Eurasia and Beringia during glacial periods. This environment was not a barren tundra, but a highly productive grassland, supporting enormous herds of large herbivores. Like modern elephants, woolly mammoths were likely highly social animals, living in herds led by an experienced matriarch. Evidence from trackways and bone beds suggests group living, which would have provided protection against predators like saber-toothed cats and dire wolves. Their social structure would have also facilitated parental care, with calves learning from older members of the herd. They likely migrated seasonally, following food sources as the climate changed. The interaction between woolly mammoths and early humans Paleolithic hunters was profound. Mammoths were a vital resource for these prehistoric people. They provided immense quantities of meat, essential for survival in cold climates. Their thick hides were used for clothing and shelter. Their bones were fashioned into tools, weapons, and even used as building materials for shelters, such as the famous mammoth bone huts found in Ukraine. The tusks provided valuable ivory for carving intricate artworks, jewellery and tools. Evidence of these interactions is abundant, from spear points found embedded in mammoth bones to elaborate cave paintings depicting mammoths in motion, showcasing the deep cultural significance of these animals. The woolly mammoth's long reign ended with the close of the last ice age. Most populations went extinct around 10,000 years ago, coinciding with a period of rapid global warming and associated environmental changes. Two leading hypotheses explain their demise: climate change and human hunting, the overkill hypothesis, with many scientists now suggesting a combination of both factors. As the climate warmed, the vast mammoth steppe began to disappear, replaced by dense forests or soggy bogs, habitats less suitable for mammoths. This habitat fragmentation and reduction would have stressed populations. Simultaneously, as human populations expanded and perfected their hunting techniques, their pressure on the remaining mammoths would have increased. The very last known populations of woolly mammoths survived on isolated islands, such as Wrangel Island off the coast of Siberia, until as recently as 4,000 years ago, long after their mainland cousins had vanished, likely due to a combination of genetic decline and continued environmental pressures. The woolly mammoth remains a powerful symbol of the Ice Age and a poignant reminder of the dramatic shifts in Earth's climate and ecosystems. Among the most iconic and fearsome predators of the Ice Age were the saber-toothed cats, a diverse group of extinct felids characterized by their unusually long, blade-like upper canine teeth. While many different lineages of prehistoric mammals evolved saber-like teeth, the most famous and widely studied representative is the genus Smilodon, particularly the species Smilodon fatalis and the even larger Smilodon populator. These magnificent creatures roamed the Americas from approximately 2.5 million years ago until their extinction around 10,000 years ago, during the late Pleistocene epoch. Smilodon was not a uniform species. 3 recognized species existed over time. The earliest, Smilodon gracilis, was smaller and more lightly built. Emerging in North America during the Pliocene and early Pleistocene, it gave rise to Smilodon fatalis, which was widespread across North and South America during the Middle to Late Pleistocene. Smilodon populator, the largest and most robust species, lived exclusively in South America and was truly colossal, significantly larger than any living big cat. These cats were not direct ancestors of modern lions or tigers, but rather belonged to an extinct subfamily of felids, the Machairodontinae, which followed a distinct evolutionary path. The defining feature of Smilodon was, of course, its incredible upper canine teeth. In Smilodon fatalis, these teeth could reach lengths of up to 28 centimeters, 11 inches, from root to tip, with about 17 centimeters, 7 inches, protruding below the upper jaw. In Smilodon populator, they were even larger, potentially exceeding 30 centimeters, 12 inches. These canines were serrated on both the front and back edges, giving them a razor-sharp quality, ideal for cutting through flesh. Despite their impressive length, these teeth were surprisingly fragile and not designed for bone crushing. They were relatively narrow from side to side, making them vulnerable to snapping if they struck bone directly during a struggle. This fragility profoundly influenced Smilodon's hunting strategy. Beyond its canines, Smilodon's overall build was exceptionally powerful and distinct from modern big cats. It was much more robust and heavily muscled than a lion or tiger of comparable size, resembling a bear in its proportions. Its forelimbs were particularly well developed, with powerful pectoral, chest, and biceps muscles, suggesting they were crucial for grappling and subduing prey. The neck muscles were also massive, designed to deliver a powerful downward thrust with the head, driving the canines into the prey. Unlike many modern felids, Smilodon had a relatively short, stubby tail, which suggests it was not built for long, high-speed chases or agile maneuvering like a cheetah. Instead, its body plan points to an ambush predator strategy. The unique anatomy of Smilodon necessitated a specialized hunting technique. Researchers widely believe that Smilodon was not a pursuit predator, Its heavy build and short tail would have made it inefficient at sustained running. Instead, it likely relied on stealth and explosive power to ambush large, slow-moving prey. Once it had tackled and pinned its victim, its powerful forelimbs and claws would have been used to restrain the animal, preventing it from struggling too much. The killing bite was then delivered with precision. The Smilodon's jaw could open to an extraordinary degree, up to 120 degrees, twice that of a modern lion, allowing its enormous canines to clear the lower jaw and plunge deep into the prey. The stab and tear hypothesis is the most accepted model for Smilodon's killing bite. The saber teeth were likely aimed at the throat or belly of large prey, designed to sever major blood vessels like the jugular vein or carotid artery, or to puncture vital organs, causing rapid blood loss and shock. This method would have brought down large animals quickly, minimizing the struggle and the risk of damaging the fragile canines. Evidence from fossilized prey bones rarely shows deep puncture marks from the saber teeth, which supports the idea that the teeth were not used for bone crushing but for soft tissue penetration. Other teeth, like the robust incisors and premolars, would have been used for skinning and tearing flesh from the carcass. The prey of Smilodon consisted primarily of the large herbivores of the Ice Age. Fossil evidence, particularly from the Rancho La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, has provided an invaluable insight into their diet. The tar pits, which acted as natural traps, contain an immense number of Smilodon fatalis skeletons, often found alongside the bones of their probable prey. These include woolly mammoths and mastodons, especially juveniles and infirm adults, bison, horses, camels, and giant ground sloths. The sheer abundance of Smilodon fossils at La Brea, far outnumbering their likely prey, suggests that many individuals became trapped while attempting to scavenge or hunt animals already caught in the tar. The question of Smilodon social behavior has been debated, but evidence suggests at least some degree of sociality or communal living. Many Smilodon individuals found at La Brea show signs of severe, debilitating injuries that would have prevented them from hunting effectively on their own. The fact that these animals survived long enough for their injuries to heal suggests they were either cared for by other members of their group or were able to scavenge successfully from kills made by others. Furthermore, fossil assemblages often include a mix of age classes, from juveniles to old adults, which could imply a social structure. While not necessarily pack hunters in the same way as wolves, Smilodon likely lived in groups that shared resources, perhaps cooperating in taking down large prey, or at least tolerating each other at kill sites. Smilodon coexisted with other formidable Ice Age predators, including dire wolves, American lions, and short-faced bears, leading to intense competition for resources. Its specialized hunting strategy allowed it to carve out its own niche among these diverse carnivores. However, like many other megafauna, Smilodon ultimately went extinct around 10,000 years ago, at the end of the Pleistocene. The exact cause of its extinction is still debated, but contributing factors likely included the changing climate at the end of the last Ice Age, which led to the loss of its preferred large prey animals, and potentially competition or direct predation from early human hunters. The disappearance of Smilodon marked the end of an era dominated by one of Earth's most iconic and specialized predators. During the Cenozoic era, long after the dinosaurs had vanished, the Americas became home to a remarkable group of mammals, the giant ground sloths. These enormous, slow-moving herbivores were distant relatives of modern tree sloths, but they adopted a vastly different lifestyle, growing to sizes that rivaled elephants and inhabiting a wide range of terrestrial environments. They roamed the landscapes of North and South America for millions of years, from the Eocene epoch, around 45 million years ago, until their extinction at the end of the Pleistocene, about 10,000 years ago. The most iconic genus of giant ground sloth is Megatherium, particularly Megatherium americanum, which lived in South America. This colossal creature could reach lengths of up to 6 meters, 20 feet, from head to tail, and weigh up to 4 tons, making it one of the largest land mammals of its time, rivaling woolly mammoths in bulk. Other notable genera included Megalodon, found in South America, known for its remarkably preserved mummified remains, Erematherium, a large North American and South American genus, and Nothrotheriops, a North American genus known from dry caves. Despite their immense size, giant ground sloths shared some anatomical features with their smaller modern tree-dwelling cousins, such as their large recurved claws. However, These claws in ground sloths were not primarily for climbing trees, though some smaller species may have been capable of limited arboreal activity, but rather for digging, defense, and stripping foliage from trees. Their limbs were massive and robust, designed to support their immense weight. They typically walked on the sides of their feet with their claws curled inwards, a posture that protected their claws from wear and tear during locomotion. This unique gait likely contributed to their characteristic slow, shuffling movement. One of the most striking aspects of giant ground sloths was their ability to rear up on their powerful hind legs, using their thick, muscular tail as a sturdy tripod. This posture would have allowed them to reach higher branches for browse, accessing leaves and twigs that were unavailable to smaller herbivores. It also would have provided an imposing defensive stance, making them appear even larger to potential predators. The diet of giant ground sloths was exclusively herbivorous. Evidence from fossilized dung, coprolites, and toothwear patterns indicates they were browsers, feeding on a wide variety of leaves, twigs, and branches. Some species, like those in more open environments, might also have incorporated grasses into their diet, acting as grazers. Their teeth were large, peg-like, and continuously growing, well suited for grinding tough, fibrous plant material. Their digestive systems would have been massive, designed to ferment and break down cellulose, similar to the gut systems of modern large herbivores. The efficiency of their digestion would have been crucial to extracting enough nutrients from their voluminous plant diet to sustain their enormous bodies. Physical evidence for ground sloth skin and fur comes from remarkably preserved mummified remains, such as those of Megalodon darwinii found in caves in Patagonia. These mummies reveal that giant ground sloths were covered in thick, coarse fur, likely providing insulation against the cold climates of the Ice Age. Some species, like Megalodon, even had small bony plates called osteoderms embedded within their skin, offering an additional layer of protection, similar to the armour of armadillos or crocodiles. This dermal armour would have provided defence against the formidable predators of the Ice Age, such as Smilodon and dire wolves. Giant ground sloths inhabited diverse environments across the Americas. They range from the open grasslands and savannas of North America to the woodlands and even arid cave systems of South America. Their adaptable diet and body plan allowed them to thrive in these varied habitats. Their fossil record is particularly rich in South America, where they originated and underwent extensive diversification before some lineages migrated north during the Great American Biotic Interchange, which occurred after the formation of the Isthmus of Panama. For millions of years, giant ground sloths were an integral part of the megafauna communities of the Americas. They coexisted with other colossal herbivores like mammoths and mastodons, and they were a significant prey item for large carnivores. Their sheer size and formidable claws likely made them challenging prey, however, capable of delivering powerful defensive blows. Early humans, who arrived in the Americas towards the end of the Pleistocene, almost certainly encountered giant ground sloths. Archaeological evidence suggests some human interaction with sloths, including possible hunting or scavenging, though the extent of human impact on their populations is debated. Like many other large Ice Age animals, the giant ground sloths ultimately faced extinction at the end of the Pleistocene, approximately 10,000 years ago. The exact reasons for their disappearance are still under investigation. Leading theories include the rapid climate change that occurred as the last glacial period ended, leading to significant shifts in vegetation and habitat, and the increasing presence and hunting pressure from early human populations. It is likely that a combination of these factors, rather than a single cause, led to the demise of these gentle giants of prehistoric America. In the vast ancient oceans of the Cenozoic era, there reigned an apex predator of unparalleled size and power, Otodus Megalodon. Often simply referred to as Megalodon, this colossal shark was the largest known shark to have ever lived, dwarfing even the modern great white shark. Its name, meaning giant tooth, is fitting, as its existence is primarily known from the hundreds of thousands of fossilized teeth it left behind across the globe. Megalodon cruised the world's temperate and subtropical waters from the early Miocene epoch, roughly 23 million years ago, until its extinction in the Pliocene epoch, about 3.6 million years ago. Unlike bony fish, sharks have skeletons made of cartilage, which rarely fossilizes. Therefore, nearly all of our knowledge about Megalodon comes from its exceptionally preserved teeth and occasional vertebral centra, the main body of vertebrae. These teeth are truly immense, triangular, and heavily serrated, perfectly designed for slicing through flesh and bone. The largest known megalodon teeth can measure up to 18 centimeters, about 7 inches, in slant height, considerably larger than the teeth of any living shark. Estimating the total body length of Megalodon from these teeth has been a long and complex scientific endeavour. Early estimates were often exaggerated, but modern paleontologists use various scaling methods based on comparisons with living great white sharks, which are the closest modern analogues in terms of predatory niche. Current scientific consensus suggests Megalodon reached an average length of 15 to 18 metres, approximately 50 to 60 feet. Some researchers propose that the largest individuals, particularly females, could have reached lengths exceeding 20 metres, 65 feet. To put this into perspective, a typical great white shark averages 4 to 6 metres, 13 to 20 feet, meaning Megalodon was at least 2 to 3 times longer and significantly more massive. Its weight estimates range from 50 to 100 tons, making it one of the largest predators in Earth's history. The inferred anatomy of Megalodon suggests a body plan similar to a heavily built great white shark, but proportionally broader and more robust to support its immense size. Its jaws would have been proportionally massive, capable of generating an incredible bite force. Studies have estimated Megalodon's bite force to be between 108,000 to 182,000 newtons, 10.8 to 18.2 tons, which is several times stronger than Tyrannosaurus Rex and orders of magnitude greater than any living animal. This crushing bite force, combined with its razor-sharp, serrated teeth, allowed it to inflict devastating wounds, capable of biting through bone and cartilage with ease. It is believed Megalodon likely possessed some degree of regional endothermy, similar to modern lamniform sharks, like great whites, meaning it could maintain a body temperature higher than the surrounding water. This would have allowed for faster digestion and sustained activity, crucial for an apex predator of its size. Megalodon's diet consisted primarily of large marine mammals. Fossil evidence, in the form of deep bite marks and gouges on the bones of ancient whales, provides direct proof of its predation. Its prey included a wide variety of early baleen whales, which were abundant during the Miocene and Pliocene, toothed whales, like sperm whales and dolphins, seals, sea cows, dugongs and manatees, and even large marine turtles. It was undoubtedly the apex predator of its time, at the very top of the marine food web, with no known contemporary rivals of comparable size. Its hunting strategies are inferred from the bite marks on prey bones. Some marks suggest Megalodon would initially target the tail flukes or fins of large whales, effectively immobilizing them by tearing off these appendages. Once the prey was incapacitated, the shark would deliver massive fatal bites to the body, consuming large chunks of flesh and bone. The sheer power of its bite would have allowed it to make quick work of its victims. Megalodon's fossil teeth have been found on every continent except Antarctica, indicating a global distribution in temperate and subtropical coastal and offshore waters. It preferred warmer, productive waters, which were rich in its preferred large mammalian prey. Evidence from certain tooth discoveries also suggests that shallow coastal waters may have served as nursery areas for juvenile Megalodon, where they could feed on smaller prey and be protected from larger predators, including potentially adult Megalodon. The reign of Megalodon as the ocean's undisputed leviathan came to an end approximately 3.6 million years ago during the Pliocene. The reasons for its extinction are complex and likely multifactorial. One leading hypothesis involves global cooling and climate change. As the Earth transitioned from the warmer Miocene into colder periods, polar ice caps began to form, leading to a significant drop in sea levels and a reduction in the warm, shallow coastal waters that Megalodon preferred for hunting and nurseries. Many of its large prey animals, especially baleen whales, adapted to these colder waters and migrated to higher latitudes, where Megalodon, being adapted to warmer conditions, may not have been able to follow or thrive. Another factor was the decline and diversification of its prey. While large baleen whales eventually became immense, the diversity and abundance of some of Megalodon's traditional prey sources declined, and some modern whale species evolved adaptations for faster swimming or migrating to colder, safer waters. Competition with other predators like the ancestors of modern great white sharks has also been proposed, though this is less favoured. While great white sharks appeared around the same time, they were much smaller and likely targeted different prey sizes, or inhabited slightly different ecological niches, making direct competition less impactful than environmental change. The extinction of Megalodon marked a significant shift in marine ecosystems, allowing other predators to diversify and fill the vacated apex niche. Its colossal size and fearsome power make it one of the most compelling and awe-inspiring prehistoric creatures to have ever existed. A true titan of the ancient seas whose legacy lives on through its magnificent fossil teeth.